What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 291. I'm your host, Ainsley Bowden, and we are rocking here on this Sunday morning here out of Kansas City. Sunday afternoon, I guess, in Europe, you know. But the whole crew is here. We got a lot of games to talk about. We have the summer showcase scheduled to talk about as well, and some expectations for those things and what's happening, along with all kind of the dates, times, and details. But the crew is all here. We're ready to go. We're right on time at 7 after. So, Mr. Tie Guy, it is what tie are you celebrating for today, my friend?
Today we have, in celebration of Revenge of the Fifth, a dark side tie with
Dark
my
side.
boy Darth Maul and his master Darth Sidious.
Oh,
Right there.
gotcha.
Yeah, very important stuff, guys. Really important.
Darth Maul. I wonder if that'll come up again.
Appreciate you asking, McClunky, and praise be.
There you go.
Do you ever feel bad, Mr. Tie Guy, about just promoting the Disney Corporation with all of your goods and wares?
I have no feelings toward the Disney Corporation, but I like Star Wars.
All right.
And I don't think of the world that way, really.
I think May the 4th and Revenge of the 5th are Disney creations. I don't believe that they really were a part of the conversation before the purchase in 2012.
I don't think that's true.
I've never even heard of Revenge of the Fifth until literally right now.
It's because it's Cinco de Mayo, and these guys are
Yeah.
just weird.
Revenge of the Fifth is more of a joke, really, but May the 4th.
Well, you know, you try wearing Cinco de Mayo stuff on the internet and see how it goes for you.
I was going to today, but I had to wear extra life today for obvious reasons. But I have a Cinco de Mayo LA King shirt, in celebration of the culture. You know, got to do it.
Yep.
Anyway, Stars is cool.
You know what to say.
This is it for me. It's not even like really Mexican, so it's
You've got
Rican flag.
a small Puerto Rican flag, kind of half hanging off a shelf there, Dave?
Yeah, like literally, you could just drive around, and like every Puerto Rican around here has one of those hanging in their windshield or on their
rear view mirror.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
Yeah, of course I do.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's required. It's part of
It's a Kansas City requirement.
I would imagine it would be a requirement in Kansas City to label yourself
Yes.
as. So it sounds like a law they'd have.
Yeah, we have to distinguish ourselves here. So.
And then we go back to our appropriate camps. You know,
We want to know who you are.
Outside of the Puerto Rican heritage, there, Dan, how are we feeling this morning, my friend?
Not bad. My strawberry milk today is a little off. It's got a weird taste, kind of an aftertaste. I think the expiration date was like May 3rd, but I think that's still good.
I love this intro.
We always nail the intro lately. We take it off the rails immediately.
I'm just saying. I mean, if I start vomiting, in the middle of the show, we know why.
If you could hit your stop cam button, that would be great.
That's content, Hogue. Content.
Don't you hear YouTube shorts of just Dan vomiting? There you go.
Yep, that'll be it.
Mr. Hogue, how are we feeling, man?
I'm doing great. What a wonderful day it is.
Yes, it is a good day. It has been a good week, which we're going to touch on very shortly. Bear with me. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be talking, like I said, about the summer showcase schedule, a bunch of different games. We'll touch on some of the more layoffs that happened this week, unfortunately. And we may talk about this Helldivers nonsense if we feel like it. It's, we'll see if we get to it. But a couple of the housekeeping things to take care of. So, first things first, later this show, I'm going to be announcing the winner of the Fallout collectible token giveaway that I was doing on Twitter. So that's going to be scrolling on the bottom later in the show. The winners are on there. If you see yourself and you're watching, just DM me. Otherwise, I'll reach out to you after the show. But thanks for everyone who shared that out. I appreciate it. Those collectible tokens are fantastic. And shout out to Mr. Ben Kenobi, which is his gamer tag, by the way, which seems appropriate for the show. Ben Kenobi, who does all those designs. So shout out to Ben.
He's so humble, just goes by Mr. Doesn't even carry his title.
That's the Bitcast for you. Food, Star
go.
Wars, and occasionally video games, folks.
Once in a while. I mean, we keep it, keep it tuned. I also want to thank you. I'm wearing my Extra Life shirt. So very, very happy to announce, I promoted my Extra Life through April, said we were raising extra money. A lot of people here at Bitcast really helped out with that and some of our audience. So thank you so much, because I did get the notice mid this week that I was one of the 12 people who raised the most in the Kansas City area for the month of April. And therefore, I am being invited as a guest in July to their Leadership Expo conference, which is basically a whole bunch of companies and leadership from around the area, basically for 4 days, having a huge event where you can basically support not only the children there, there's going to be tournaments and gaming and everything, but also talk about how we can help going forward more. So I think that's going to be really awesome. It's the first time I'm going to that Extra Life United event. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you. And then, of course, I want to celebrate Mr. Hogue here, because Mr. Hogue making my dwarfing my little Extra Life award, where he won the Stroke Hero Award this week after a couple months of voting. It was a long time for voting, right?
It was like 6 weeks, I think. But they took a month between the end of the votes to announce. They announced it on May 1st, this last Wednesday. And I do have a trophy here. And we did a celebratory stream on my channel where a lot of folks came out, a lot of my legal friends. Travis was there for a brief cameo. And we did some Bitcast clips of when I returned to the internet and when you guys were joking around while I was in the ICU, both that I really enjoyed. And so we talked about that on the show.
Just me. It was just me. You don't have to blame them for that.
I just love Travis's intro because, Travis is bold. He's a stand-up comic. He always goes in hard with his opinions. And his intro to that is, so I guess I'm going to make a joke here before he goes into it. And it's like... It's so funny to me because even Travis is like, I think this is going to work out. Yeah, it'll be fine. And then proceeds.
It's the tone and the way you approach things is half of the battle, really.
That is true.
You do it in the right way. So,
yes.
And also know your audience. I know I had a lot of Hogue lovers in the audience. There were a lot of Hogue haters.
Those dastardly folks.
Yeah, I would have shown up in a red suit, been like, "Come on, guys, let's roast this mother." It's been a very different situation. But
well, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight that because I obviously wasn't around, but I really was laughing with you guys on my ICU bed, and I really appreciated it because, as I said in that stream, and I think I've said here, it was one of the first moments where I felt normal or close to normal because it's an alien environment when you're in the hospital. It's not your home. People are poking and prodding you. You don't know what's going on all the time. You're on a lot of drugs. And then there's Travis making fun of you. And all is right in the world.
Well, I had a friend in stand-up who used to say that, when bad things happen, the jokes are for the people that aren't in a hospital, probably not listening to your jokes. Right. And so really it was more when I make jokes of when bad things happen, they're more for the stand, what do you call them? I'm completely the pedestrians, let's just say, rather than the actual victims, because the victims are usually busy, doing victim stuff.
Were you looking for bystanders there?
Bystanders, thank you. For some reason, I could only think of passerbys, which I was like, that's not right.
No, I get that.
Yeah, bystanders. But the fact that you did see it was both surprising and also, thank God it was a good response because it would have been funny. If it wasn't, would have been pretty funny. Different relationship. But yeah.
That's right. I see Travis's joke and all my alarms go off because I'm monitored up to wazoo when I'm watching that. My wife brings it in and says, "They're joking about you, honey." And I say, "Great, let's see it." And I remember being in the hospital bed watching you.
Well, I did go back and watch that clip where you showed that bit to your legal colleagues, and I showed it to D because I was like, "See, this is why I make jokes sometimes, and I'm a little bit inappropriate." Look, it actually helped him, so that did make me feel really good on a frankly pretty shitty day that I was having. So thanks for that, Hogue. Well,
cool. I'm sorry to hear that, and I apologize in advance to D for backstopping your inappropriate joke making.
Yeah. So big congrats, Hogue. That's awesome. I saw the stream went really well. So yeah.
Lots of folks, lots of friends, lots of fun. And I always want to thank the people on my channel and who follow my content for being so kind of flexible with when I'm getting content out and how often I'm getting videos, because that was a big video that I did and it exhausted me for a couple days, but it wasn't a virtual legality. It wasn't a Hangouts and Headlines. And I know it's been a couple weeks since I've been doing that kind of regular content. And so I appreciate it from everybody. And you can see in your chat, Prototopics, David, who was on that stream, is here. And he's the host of Lawyers and Dragons. He's the dungeon master, game master, whatever you want to call it. And he was great. He popped on and he was there, I think, almost the whole time. So 3 hours is a lot to ask of anybody doing anything. And my friends were great on that stream. So if that sounds of interest to you, if you want to see lawyers chumming about strokes and hanging out and having Travis make fun of me, essentially from a year and a half ago, that's a stream for you. It's a good time, and it is on my channel right now. But don't turn your channel just yet. Let's watch the rest of the Bitcast first.
Yeah. Hold on that for just a little bit. 3.5 hours, I think Dan said we're going for
Dear
today.
God.
We're just staying on until Dan throws up. That's it.
That may be much sooner.
Thank you everyone again for that. So let's get to Tide's picks, for May the 4th. And of course, this is appropriate for Travis today, of course. And here's our picks this morning, where I don't think we've ever looked better, honestly.
Honestly, this has convinced me that men should wear makeup.
Heavy face makeup does wonders. I'm not sure about the horns.
This is pretty cool. We had a guy
replacement for hair. I'll take. So.
We encountered a man dressed as Darth Maul yesterday with all of the accoutrement, including the contact lenses, and it was pretty impressive stuff. Whenever you see somebody go full Maul like that, full Maul.
So never go full Maul. Although I have to say to Dan, that is a brave stance with the lightsaber there. You got it behind you.
He's got it in his back pocket. It just kind of sits there when he needs it.
It's actually on a chain wallet. So
also, I love that like Ains and Hogue are wearing robes. I'm wearing a suit, which just makes sense. And then Dan is wearing like a leather jacket. I don't know what that is about. That's a very strange.
Yeah, I'll tell you off the show.
Yeah, Dan, you look like you're taking Darth Maul's high school senior photo there. I really appreciate. Yeah,
he still has the goatee too.
I thought he was the special Darth Maul that if you call the right phone number and you ask for Darth Maul to come, that's who shows up.
What do you guys think Darth Maul's high school senior quote was? At last we shall have our revenge is like only line in the episode 1. I think that's probably it. Probably a good one.
Oh man, Ty, thank you as always. And yeah, someone pointed out they don't think anyway, unless they're under the hood, that I have headphones this week, which would be like a first. So sweet.
Yeah, they are hidden in darkness if they're there.
I think they replaced it with a horn. It looks like over there on the ear, which is interesting.
Yeah, some ear horns. Everyone needs some ear horns. You know how it goes.
I think Dan has just regular ears though. Maybe there are horns there. I don't know.
Thank you as always, Todd. Appreciate you. Let's get caught up on our pre-Bitcast super chats, where Don came in early again. Don's coming in crazy this week.
I've even turned my computer on at this point at 9:45.
Yes, I know, Dan.
I have no doubt.
I know, Dan.
Yeah. No. I can't do that. Well, I mean, who else is going to be late? I mean, jeez. All right, Don, with a $10 super chat. Good morning, Bitcast. Beat DD2 with a Dragon's Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, the other day, but realized I had other stuff to do, so I had to download my unsynced cloud save. Good game, bad saves, which was just before the final battle. Phew.
Yeah, I've lost a few hours in Dragon's Dogma 2 a few times, so yeah, it's an interesting save system.
Yeah, I would say pretty much everything around the game is pretty bad, like UI and menus and all that stuff, cloud saves. But the game is quite fun. I have been playing that here and there in my free time, but yeah, that's one that's really hard to make time for. It's such a commitment, man, to actually go through the whole thing.
Yeah, I haven't gone back to it either. Don did follow up with the second one.
All right, with the $5, I've come to realize that I may like Dragon's Dogma. That game Dogma. The heck is that?
Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. More than 2, so much potentially if they add real story, and the Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen vocations were better. That's too much. I'm just gonna say DDDA.
I tend to agree with Don on this. I really did not connect with 2.
Yeah,
I don't know. I remember really, really liking Dragon's Dogma 1 when it came out, but we did try to play it like a week before Dragon's Dogma 2, and it's a little tough. I mean, it's aged quite a bit, but yeah, for its time, it was just it was kind of ahead of its time and really underrated.
But Dark Arisen is even better than 1.
Yeah, that was the one we played, but again, it's aged still. It's pretty pretty janky.
Don, thank you very much. He's got 2 more super chats. He's just firing away, so I'm just going to go through them here.
We love you, Don. Thank you.
Yeah, Don.
Yes, thank you, Don.
Any special plans for Bitcast 300 very soon? Ty suggested David of Prototopics as game show host. If we were doing a game show again, it's a good idea. Actually,
we don't want to volunteer people for work, but yeah, David would be a great host.
It's going to be the birthday suit episode. Where,
do I know David of Prototopics?
Yes, you do, because David is our game master, and you work on Lawyers and Dragons.
That guy's cool. Yeah,
that guy is cool.
Guy.
Yes,
in our birthday suits.
In our birthday suits. Yes. I don't know. No, we get no viewers.
Mine is a 3-piece.
I don't even know how to take that. It sounds funny.
Yeah. I don't know how to take it either, but it sure is provocative, isn't it? Isn't it? Makes you wonder.
It's just 3 different ties, nothing else.
Well, I have a theory that half of the women that have slept with me, all one of them, is they just wanted to see me without the tie. I think that was it's really the mystery, Hogue. You got to cultivate a mysterious persona. That's really what it's all about.
I don't want to go too far down this road, but I assumed a tie was a part of your persona.
I mean, you're not wrong. Besides, they get really
bring D in.
Yeah, they get really disappointed when you take off my clothes and I just have a full body tattoo of a suit over my naked body. That really brings down the mood, I would say.
Do you have more than one tie on at any given time, though? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't even know what that means.
I'm just saying.
I thought I could play and pretend to be kinky, and now Dan has asked me a real question, and I'm confused.
What's the movie that has the double tie? Is it Back to the Future 2 where they're wearing the double ties?
Yes.
Back to the Future 2. There were 2 ties, and we actually went the opposite way where nobody wears ties. We could have had a great future, guys. We could have had flying cars and double ties, but we didn't.
Double up. To actually answer Don's question about Bitcast 300, we don't have a plan right now. We are going to plan something for it. We've got a couple months, so we'll figure that out. But we'll let you know.
People on my stream really wanted another trivia show.
Trivia shows are fun. If we can pull that together and do it properly, that is a good suggestion with David as well. So we'll talk through it. Yeah. And then Don with the 4th super chat. Outside of that.
Yeah, Travis, stand up outside of San Francisco. The Tie Guy
tour.
You know, I did tour at it for a time, and I used to do more shows in general, not just outside of San Francisco. You do catch me every once in a while. I did a show in Austin earlier this year and one in Nashville late last year. But they're basically just like, if I'm in your city and I hear that there's a show and I know somebody who will let me do a set or whatever. Or sometimes my friends will come. You know, I have friends who are actual real comedians. And sometimes they'll come to San Francisco and ask me to like open for them. But, you know, you're not going to find me on like a marquee or anything like that. I'm not, you know, I basically I fill in when people need somebody who's local to the Bay Area, or I happen to be in a city and I'm just feeling frisky, want to work with a new audience. So, you know, it's not something I do as much anymore, but I still love it when I get the chance. So I don't know if you're in San Francisco, or I'm in a city that I don't know where you're at, Don Lionheart, but if I'm in your city and I do a show, I'll definitely let you know.
You doing a 15-minute set for your vows?
Actually, kind of. So I'm doing. My promise to Dee was that our ceremony would be normal, and I'm just going to do my normal vows. But then when we get to my reception, I'm kind of thinking, I'm toying with the idea of doing just like a roasting my recent bride and everyone else in the room. So we'll see if that actually happens.
To start it off.
I like the
Yeah,
idea,
exactly. I
Travis.
mean,
Just
she
be
knows what she's
careful.
getting into. She knows what she's getting into. Come on.
You just want to be careful with that. It's a good idea on tone. You just have to have a good understanding.
I mean, that is the job of a comedian. Read the room is basically the skill set, right? But yeah,
Yeah, but you're not always going back and trying to sleep in the same bed as the rest of your audience in the read the
Speak for
room
yourself.
area.
Well, I mean,
Speak
yeah.
for yourself, sir. You don't know comedians at all.
All right.
California.
I was actually going to ask the question because I don't know anything about stand-up comedy, but
Yeah.
the way you just described it, how do you make money doing that? Like,
Oh, well,
who's paying you? Is it the venue?
Yeah, no, you'll get paid by either the venue or if you're helping out with somebody's tour, sometimes that way. I mean, I get paid. Somebody's paying me. I don't know the mechanics behind who's making more money, but you got to assume it's probably the venues. But yeah, it's you get a piece of ticket sales is the answer.
Okay.
Nice.
But yeah, usually when I do shows in other cities, it's just for fun though. You know, if somebody is doing a set, it's kind of like appearing on this show, right? It's like
Now wait a minute. I'm still wondering how I get paid appearing on this show.
exactly.
Travis.
Yeah. When you do shows, sometimes you're just like, I got some free time and I want to practice. It's not really about making money every time.
By the way,
That's what we are. The practice.
we're
podcast.
practice. Oh, wrong comment. Eleanor says, I really want Dee as a guest here. I feel like she would be my new favorite.
We have talked about that. I think it would be funny to do a post-wedding episode once Ains hasn't met Dee in person yet. So I think
I have gamed with her a few times, but I haven't
Yeah,
met her.
you've gamed with her. Hogue has gamed with her. So yeah, she's I think that will have to happen at some point. It'll be difficult to get her up at this hour, but yeah.
That is right. We've talked about the fact that Travis wants to lock that in before other people get to meet her and convince her not to do this.
That's right. We started dating during COVID when she had no other options. If she meets some normal guys, I'm in real trouble.
All right.
Well, no issues there with an appearance on this show.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, shout out to Vintage Willow gifting 5 season gaming memberships to kick us off this morning.
Thank you, Vintage Willow.
Sincere thanks as always. Repeat prior comments here, but as I've said many times, without monetization, memberships really help us out around here. So thank you so much. And Midnight Drury as well, gifting 1 season gaming membership to kick us off. So thank you, Midnight Drury. Awesome to see you guys as always. All right. Should we talk about, I guess, some games? Should we do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it seems like it's on our agenda. We should
Is it on deck?
Video games.
Yeah. All right. I'll kick us off with a review we did that I didn't do, so this will be rather short. But if you've seen Steam lately, a little game called Manor Lords came out. It has done extremely well for a very small development team originally, as I think we mentioned last week, started by one guy, and he's had help since. But it's an early access title launched on Steam about a week and a half ago, I want to say, and quickly rose to the top 10. Eventually, at one point, it was number 1 briefly. But it's kind of a not medieval, but kind of a city builder type, castle type, control your army type thing. And it's in early access. It still has a long way to go, but it's been getting pretty solid reviews and sense of foundation. So Ray dove into this for us. Our review went up yesterday. I think for right now, he's given it a 7. And said that there's a really good foundation here, but there are quite literally aspects of the game that are still not built. So, for instance, there are actually menus or screens in the game that'll say this is still to come. So it's obviously a very early access title, but he had a pretty high opinion on it. Otherwise, he's really impressed at how how well designed it is in various ways and how it's presented. So, if you're interested in Manor Lords or interested in that type of game, you can check out his review, and then just obviously we'll update that as it goes through early access eventually to a 1.0 review. So pretty cool to have Ray dive into that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very exciting game. I love all of these stories in gaming this year where some game comes out, whether it's Pal World or Manor Lords or Balatro, and just meets players where they didn't even know they had a need, or a want to play these things. And Manor Lords is a bit more standard in terms of it's a you said city builder, it's a kind of society builder of the likes, where you're making sure that the trade routes are working out okay and that the people are getting what they need in terms of resources, somewhere between an Anno and a Sim City. And I think it's a cool idea, and seeing people being able to create these cool ideas and then get this kind of immediate traction is a bit of a sea change for how games have been marketed and sold for decades now, right?
Yeah.
That you can go and you can have something like a Manor Lords come out, and I don't really buy early access games, but I have heard the same, that it is a true early access, that it has
Yes.
functionality on kind of one pillar, but it doesn't have a bunch of the other things that it does done yet. And still seeing all the money come in and people happy with the product is, I think, a good thing for games.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just another avenue for, games to kind of get out there in front of people. This one also, thanks, Rob, for calling it out in our chat. This one also is on Game Pass PC, so you can play it there as well. If you buy it on Steam, I believe it's $40 in early access. And like I said, obviously still has some work to go. But a lot of people I know are kind of enjoying it and really kind of enjoying their time with it, even though it's in early access, as we've talked about many times here. So yeah, I would check it out.
Oh yeah, and I don't buy a lot of early access games, but I got this one for my wife because she loves builder games. She loves them to death. They are, because we share the same Steam account, they are by far the most played games in my Steam account. Hundreds and hundreds of hours of builder games. So I will let you know when I hear her take on it, but she has not yet reported back because she's currently building zoos. Like I said, she loves builder games.
Okay. All right. Cool. Travis, I know you were diving back into Fallout 76. Did your re-review go up yet?
No. Turns out MMOs are very big and long. And so I have been playing an ungodly amount of Fallout 76 for the past 3 weeks. I think it's been 2.5 weeks at least.
Okay.
I am in the end game. I've over leveled far beyond level 50, which is the point at which you stop earning attribute points. And I'm, I did all of the DLC content. I did all the Atlantic City DLC expeditions. I did the Pittsburgh DLC expeditions, and I think I've completed all of the storyline stuff as well. But there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with like the they have daily missions, they have live events. Right now there's an alien invasion going on that you can tackle at the top of every hour, that drops a ton of loot and stuff. And so I am planning on actually writing the review today, because I'm pretty much done with everything I can really think to do. I mean, there's still so much more you could play this game. You meet people who are like level 500, 600 and stuff like that online, because it just lets you continue to level, and you can work on different builds, and you can build stuff, build different camps and all that. But I think
these games are a lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, you could play Fallout 76 for a ton of time, but I think I've played all the substantive content, and I understand what the end game entails enough to basically say like, okay, here's what I think. And obviously there's no embargo on this, so I can tell you it's much better than the game I played in 2018. I'm pretty underwhelmed with the expeditions. I think the expeditions are actually pretty bad, which is there. I can tell you how to unlock them, Ain, since I know you're playing the game, but basically you press X at any point and you can start an expedition, and they're kind of like mini missions that take place in a different node, where you just like go there and you complete like a real quick mission that maybe takes like 30-40 minutes, and then you go back to the mainland, West Virginia, and then you pop back into an expedition, and each of the expeditions has like 3 little mini side quests you do that sort of tell a more cohesive story over 3 acts, and that's it. They're kind of unrelated. There's no like side quests to do while you're there, really. There's some new characters and some new vendors and stuff, but they're kind of like Cheeseworks is saying they're dungeons. That's basically what I would say they are. They're kind of like jump in, kill some new enemy types, meet a couple characters, and then jump out. But yeah, I know some people consider Fallout 76 like S tier. My time with it, I definitely think it's better than the 4 out of 10 I gave it in 2018. Significantly better, but I definitely wouldn't put it in the top tier of online games that you could play with your friends. So I'm still fit. I don't know where I'll end up with a score. I haven't written the review yet. I've certainly had a ton of fun with it, and it's a lot of fun to play with friends and meet people and see the weird stuff everybody's built and all that. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm still loving it. I'm not nearly as far as you. I think I'm level 18, 19, so I'm just plotting my way through. I'm not trying to rush.
Travis has some hyper focus button and he just flies through some of this stuff that I don't.
Well, if he's, to his credit, when he's reviewing something, it's like you got to get through it because there's another review around the corner, right? So I get it on that. But yeah, you definitely put some time in, no doubt. I play it casually, hour or two here and there. Definitely still enjoying it a lot. I got pulled away because I'm working on a different review now, and I probably won't get back to it, sadly, because as we were just saying, there's other reviews coming up pretty rapidly. So, but yeah, I know a lot of people, the trend of Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 in particular continues to kind of go with people kind of rediscovering them, and it's been a good time for Fallout fans for sure. So,
yeah, and all from an Amazon show. But yeah, one thing I did want to add to this conversation.
A Nolan did it. That's why.
Yes, they're not the same person though. They're just brothers.
Hey, it's the name that matters,
I did want to add to this conversation is I have been seeing online a number of people complaining about the reviews that Sea of Thieves has been getting from PlayStation outlets, kind of reigniting the is there an Xbox tax conversation. And I do think more than an Xbox tax, what you see in the reviews of Sea of Thieves now from PlayStation outlets is essentially the same thing that you just heard from Travis, of looking at a game years on with content pipelines really kind of hammered out. And Sea of Thieves today is vastly better than Sea of Thieves when it released on Xbox originally. So I really don't have an issue with those reviews coming in higher on PlayStation because it's exemplary of a problem with the game's review process of these live service games, which is they get locked into stasis at whatever they released at. And then you don't, unless Travis or someone else at IGN or GameSpot or wherever goes through the effort, get that update unless it goes to a different platform like PlayStation. So I think it's a great thing that you're doing, Travis. I think it's a great thing that IGN is funding that process because I think gaming needs to get on board with that for live service games especially.
Yeah, we're doing a bunch of cool re-reviews this month. I don't know the games exactly, but I think Fortnite's in there. I'm going to do Disney Dreamlight Valley next after this because we didn't do a 1.0 review and there's a bunch of new content there. So yeah, it's going to be kind of cool. I hope this becomes more of a regular thing. It's just usually with all the new games coming out that people are super excited about and wanting to know people's opinion on. It's kind of hard to make time for this sort of thing. So it's cool that there's been a little bit of a lull coming up here in the next couple weeks.
I'd be in favor of it as the job description. A few people that just cover live service re-reviews.
I was just going to say the same thing, Hogue, is I think your point is, we've talked about that here before. I think it's extremely valid, but I think that it's a nature of the industry, right? There's so many games now that are just always evolving. And as many of us have pointed out many times, the top played games on all platforms, whether you're on PlayStation, Steam, Xbox, doesn't matter, are regular update games. It's Fortnite, it's Call of Duty, it's Rainbow Six Siege, it's Apex Legends, it's Minecraft, it's Roblox. Those are the top 10 on every platform. And they are continually evolving. They are live service games. So I think it's, I think that's a very fair point. And then, of course, you have, you have a whole bunch of other games under that, like the Sea of Thieves, like the Forza Horizons, even that's evolved. Halo, I always mention. There's a whole bunch of other games that are continually changing and getting updates too.
Well, and we haven't talked about it, but Crew Motorfest has been getting lots of big updates because it's not quite a live service. It is in that halfway zone, but it's getting lots of big updates with full videos and narration packages and new race sets. And I know it's kind of my first Forza Horizon as a game, but I've really enjoyed a lot of what they've added to it. But if you agree with any of this analysis, or if you just want to support Travis, y'all got to click on these things. Because if we want anybody to be working on this in the future, if we want Travis to still have a job, if we want any of these things to be discussed, these major sites, you got to make sure they're clicked on. So if and when Travis finally gets off his butt and writes something about this game he's been playing and puts it on IGN, you got to make sure you go check it out.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
I don't want Travis to have a job, says Dell. That is, I mean,
it's fair.
Yeah, it's fair. I see that.
Yeah, but anyway, if you're like me, who either if you didn't play Fallout 76 before, or you're like me who tried years ago and kind of bounced off it very quickly, give it a go. And I will stress, I know I've said this multiple times, but the first few hours are slow. They really are. There's a hump there you got to get over, but it becomes very fun.
I prefer ESO, but there are good games in the Bethesda online network. So yeah, I don't have any problem with Fallout 76. I like fantasy more than the Fallout.
I was just going to say, I think not that they play similarly, but I think conceptually they're similar, right? It's just because if you want your post-apocalyptic or your fantasy.
And they're different companies. Bethesda Games made Fallout 76 directly, and ZeniMax Online makes Elder Scrolls Online. And I should give the disclaimer that my brother works at ZeniMax Online. But I like Elder Scrolls even more than him, and I've liked it before he joined that company. So I feel okay saying that.
Sensing some clear biase here, Hogue.
Yep, clearly biased, but mostly it would be against my brother. So you can assume that I like it even more than I'm saying here. So no, they have the same kind of MMO DNA, like philosophy, which is that Bethesda and ZeniMax have decided they really want to tell stories in these environments, which make them unusual in the MMO space and also in the single player space, because you're not going to get as tight a narrative as you get from playing a Fallout that's made for single player. You're not going to get as tight a narrative as you get from an Elder Scrolls game made for single player role playing, but you're going to get a lot of story. You're going to get a lot of background, a lot of world building in both of these places. And if you like that, I think it's there to find, and you can play them multiplayer. You can play them as an MMO. You can play them in a solo session. You can't really live there the whole time, but you can play them just for those story beats, just for that world building. If you're an Elder Scrolls fan, just to read books in the MMO setting. And I do recommend them. I think they are fun and engaging games. But I'm also the guy that would tell you that Starfield is fun and engaging. So take that with a grain of salt, because other people hate me online for saying such things.
I don't think you're out of line for that. By the way, I want to shout out this comment from Zafira on Hogue's side. Manor Lords is the most medieval you can find. So
I think have some historians. It's like the 11th century, right?
Yeah. So they have some historians as counselors and an architect finding all the old houses that are still there to make buildings in the game. That's very cool. Very cool.
Here's what I really like about this conceptually, Manor Lords as a game, which is that I love these kind of what I call gardening games. I love Annos. They're my favorite game series on PC, and building things up to garden them, to make them look like real cities or real towns, real villages. Part of the fun there is getting them to that place where they look like they could have really existed. And what Manor Lords is doing is this kind of organic, here's how the roads would develop as the way people walk around, and how the town would develop in a medieval society, with just you kind of making small decisions and then having the town grow up around it. And I love that. So I think that's why people are taking to it, because it has that ability to look like an organically built city when you're done with it, and have the seasons change and all that fun stuff. I think part of the gardening game kind of genre is getting it to a place where graphically it is engaging, and it's its own reward for existing after you've played it for a while. And I think Manor Lords reaches that goal very well. You can see that from screenshots. You can see that from videos. And I have no doubt that if they continue to add to it and get it to the place where it is supposed to be with the description of the game on the whole after early access, that it's going to continue to be a success.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool when games kind of go for that authenticity. We talked a little bit about that with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 coming up. Dell says Pentiment enters the chat. Obviously, the art style and kind of direction of that's different, but there's definitely a lot of authenticity there that they went into, which is really cool too. So, yeah, good stuff.
Gamers are nerds. They like research. They like well-researched historical stuff.
I do.
Losers.
Yeah. Yep. Fair.
Nope.
So I'll talk about a little game. I don't know how much our audience is interested in this, but I know they have their own audience, sports games, where I'm now working on Top Spin 2K25, which is the return of the tennis franchise.
They released a new Top Spin.
Yeah, 14 years since the last Top Spin release. So It was funny because I was thinking about this the other day. When you talk about sports games, obviously sports games, there's certain people who play only sports games, or there's certain people who buy certain annual ones, right? And obviously the FIFAs of the world, the Maddens are not FIFA anymore, but Football Club, EA, Madden. We talked about NCAA coming back, and NHL and NBA.
If you don't say the show, Dan is going to leap through the screen onto your
and the show.
Literally all I've been playing. Yeah.
So there's those. That's like in the US anyway. Those are your major sports, right? And then obviously FIFA was kind of the worldwide bestseller. But there are these other sports games like the golf games, tennis games, etc., where annually they don't have that same kind of cadence where there's like a great annual release. It's like they kind of come once in a while. So I was thinking about this with Topspin, where like if you think about tennis games, that really the people who like to play tennis games, there's like certain tennis games that jump out. Super Tennis on Super Nintendo many years ago. Then you had Virtua Tennis on the Dreamcast, kind of took over for a while, which is awesome. And then you had Topspin back in the early Xbox era, when Xbox had its own sports games like NFL Fever, which were very cool.
That is the early Xbox era. I'm in my head, I'm thinking of it as a Dreamcast game. Was Topspin not on Dreamcast?
No, Virtual Tennis was Dreamcast.
Okay.
Yeah, Topspin was the Mario Tennis, if you like the Nintendo, if you, that version of it, the super powered up one. But anyway, so 2K has taken over the Topspin license. They got Hangar 13 to help develop this. The Czech
Mafia Tennis.
Hangar 13. Mafia Tennis. You kill people on the other side. The matches are very quick.
That'd be sweet.
But anyway, I'm working through it. I've always liked tennis games, so I'm playing it a lot. I've actually gotten pretty addicted to it. It is quite good. It takes a little bit to go through the training and kind of learning, obviously modern tennis, there's a lot to how you hit the ball and timing and all these different things. But it is it's implemented very well, and it's surprisingly, I saw some reviews saying it's kind of light on features. I don't get that at all. You can create your own player, which is in depth. It's got a full career mode where you travel around the world. You do trainings and kind of all the different tournaments, and you level up. You have different coaches. You can buy houses where you stay around the world, because when you travel, it kind of reduces your stamina for tournaments. And then it's got competitive online modes too. So it's got ranked online where you can play people around the world. I played someone in Switzerland yesterday. And then it's got casual exhibition modes and all these things. So it's very, very good so far. I'll have a lot more to say on it. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't know how big the audience is, obviously, for Topspin 2K25. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So it's nice to see this back. I hope that 2K continues to kind of revise this and develop it going forward. So we shall see. Yeah, what do you got?
I got a suggestion for your next charity stream, Ains.
Okay.
I want you to play Topspin, but every time you hit the ball with your avatar, I want you to make the grunt. I want you to make the tennis yelp. I want that to be the, sweatband on and make the scream every time you hit a tennis ball. Could we do that?
That'd be pretty good.
I really love the old Topspins. Ains, can I ask a question? Is it fully licensed? Does it have current tennis players?
So it's got, people want more, of course, but it has some of the current tennis pros, and it has some classics. So it has Pete Sampras, it has Steffi Graf, it has Agassi, it has Serena
have
Williams.
Sampras without Agassi,
of course. It's got
Anna Kournikova.
It does have Anna Kournikova, yes. Dan going straight to the
Can we get into the PlayStation card?
I had no idea you were a tennis fan, Dan.
The one tennis sex symbol, But yeah, so there's some notable omissions, right? From the game in terms of pros, like it does, like I'm gonna forget on names, like I'm blanking on names right now, but there are some kind of high level pros that aren't in the game. So there may be more coming. The other really weird thing that is not in the game right now, but supposed to be coming in an update, is you cannot play a friend directly right now online. You can play local, and you can play online matches with your pro or ranked or with the pros, but you cannot, like me and you couldn't just link up and play against each other.
Can't grunt with your boys.
No. Someone said Williams' sister. So Serena's in it. Venus is not. Yes. Funny though, Travis, you mentioned the grunting. Literally, when you customize your player, you can customize every aspect of your player, your swing type, your movement, and everything. You can turn on how often you grunt when you hit the ball.
Oh, that's great. I would love to have access to that slider in real life. It'd be great if I could customize my grunt. How often I
Travis,
do
you
it.
can control how often you grunt, buddy.
I don't think you understand. Some grunts come from a different place than the higher thinking. It's you've never had
But
a grunt just escape you.
I think probably at my age, it's when I threw out my back trying to get a board game out of a case.
Which board game was it worth the grunt?
That particular board game was Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, which is a game that I play with Mrs. Hogue.
I have that as well. Do you play that?
We're not doing the tabletop turn. We're not doing it.
Oh, come on.
No.
Games.
Anyway, about Top Spin. About Top Spin. No, it's really good. So if you're one of those people who enjoyed the old tennis games or just like that kind of gameplay, I would check it out. It's got that 2K sports kind of Ubisoft approach where like the top edition's like $120, and it comes with all these digital bonuses. I would not do that if I were you. So maybe wait a little bit. But I don't know. I'll have more to say on this game soon. But I am playing a lot of it, and it is very well done. So, Nixie, I'm playing it on Xbox, by the way. Series.
I am interested.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I had some really competitive matches online. You know me, I'm competitive. So like I'm playing the AI, and I'm like, the AI is actually surprisingly pretty good. And they do switch it up on you on occasion. But playing real people online has been really fun. I did lose yesterday for the first time. This dude just wrecked me. I was like, oh my God, he's kicking my ass. Yeah.
Give us the gruntings. Give us a taste.
No, I don't know. I can't do that. You got to wait for the stream, man.
Okay.
You got to wait for the stream.
Right.
He doesn't give it away for free, Travis.
Yeah, no grunting for free. So, what else have we been playing, boys? Give me something.
What's up? Yeah.
I have got some things.
Hogue's notes.
Oh, Hogue's notes.
Hogue's notes.
So
it's
last week,
notes.
Do I have a song?
I was doing the intro theme. I didn't realize.
So last week I talked to you about how Aedan Chronicle, which is a single chronicle, not multiple chronicles, Ains.
It's Chronicles. We covered this last week.
It's a single chronicle. Whatever entry you're looking at was wrongly entered. Is Aedan Chronicle 100 Heroes.
I'm going to refer to this. I'm going to refer to this series of debates over the title of the game as the name Chronicles.
Okay.
The game name Chronicles.
There you go. Well, it is a single chronicle, but regardless,
right.
It has been massively disappointing to me. Thank you for the you're right, Ains. I appreciate it.
Open Critic has it wrong. I blame them.
They
do.
Go ahead.
So it is a single chronicle, but it did disappoint me. This was a game I was looking forward to for a long time. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever there's something that comes out that is disappointing that you otherwise were kind of reserving a space in your brain for, in this case, a JRPG, I wind up filling it in with other things. And that's the same for like movies or TV shows where it's like, I really wanted that to work. What things do I like that are similar to that? So I've been playing JRPGs of a little bit less fame and recognition than the Final Fantasies of the world. And I've had a good time. So I want to talk about Sandland a little bit,
nice.
Which is an action RPG kind of thing. It's really more along the lines of an action game in an open world that has certain RPG elements and certainly a lot of storytelling. But if you aren't familiar with this particular brand, it's from a manga that Akira Toriyama wrote, I guess, a while back. It wasn't one I was familiar with. And it has the art style of his. So it looks like a Dragon Ball or something like that. And I think it really came together in the game pretty well. And you are a group of demons that meets up with a human in a world turned into a desert, Sandland. And various epic things happen from there. And I won't go into them. But the trick is that you have action fighting. You have a demon character that hits other people. And then you get vehicles to traverse the desert. So you get a round little cute anime tank. You get a bouncing robot. You get these various things that you can use to traverse this landscape. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, I think it worked out really well. Now, IGN didn't like it. I think IGN gave it a pretty poor score. But I think
okay means it's okay.
Okay. So IGN gave it a 6, meaning it's okay. I think it's better than that. It isn't going to blow your socks off. It isn't trying to do anything terribly new or interesting, but it is a cogent anime story of a fairly simple nature in a cool world with cool graphics. So I really liked it. The other thing I was playing this week.
Hold on. It's on Game Pass too, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't see it on Game Pass. I bought it on PlayStation. But if it is, then I wasted my money.
I saw an ad for it on the Xbox dashboard. That's why I thought it might have been Game Pass, but I'll double check.
Yeah, and it does. I see in the chat. It is like anime Mad Max. Yeah, it is. It is that kind of style. The whole world is gone. There's just the things that are living left in the desert, and there's a bunch of corrupt societies that are trying to keep water away from people. And there are people in chat saying yes, it is on Game Pass. Immediately followed by it's not on Game Pass. So check that out for yourself, guys.
I thought I saw it on Game Pass, but maybe it was just an advert.
Hey, maybe it might be. Certainly, if you have Game Pass, go look at the recently released on Game Pass. Maybe it'll be there. I do recommend it. The other thing I have been playing that is also in the JRPG kind of fill-in category is a game called Saga Emerald Beyond, which I think IGN really hated. But I like this one even better than Sandland. And for one specific reason. So if you're familiar with the Saga series, it's kind of the Final Fantasy unhappy forgotten cousin series in Square Enix portfolio. They're the games Romancing Saga, Saga Frontier, here Saga Emerald Beyond that are trying to do weird things, right? Where Final Fantasy has to meet a certain burden of being approachable by mass audiences, or so Square Enix would like when they're trying to sell that product. The Saga series is essentially where they let their designers get weird. And Saga Emerald Beyond is a game where you traverse, I think it says 17 worlds in the multiverse. And none of that is important because the story is told absolutely bizarrely. But the battle system is probably my favorite in the last few years. My favorite battle system, turn-based battle system since maybe Octopath Traveler. And it's a battle system that is entirely devoted to the timeline, right? So if you've played a turn-based battle game and you know it's one that has a timeline where it kind of says where people are doing their actions, here you get a certain amount of points to give to your entire team. And those points can be used to position your people on the timeline. And if they're next to each other, you get a combo. And if the enemy's next to each other, they get a combo. And so you're trying to put your people in various places using their attacks to block other people's combos and to get yours. And if you have a big enough combo, you get to double it up. And all this rule stuff that is very crunchy and is probably not best conveyed in a podcast format like this one is very intellectually stimulating. And there's a bunch of different characters that you get. I've got a robot in mine. I've got an ancient Irish warrior in mine. I've got a singer that is an android that has traversed robot bodies. I have a talking mole man in mine. And all of these things go together. They get their own kind of battle systems, each individually, and you're getting new characters as you go to these various different worlds. And the plot line, like every Saga game, is nonsensical because it's designed to be kind of choice-based to the nth degree. And so they lose the ability to tell a kind of cohesive, dramatic narrative. But it has cool little stories that you can find that I've been engaged with. And the battle system is, what was the term you used earlier in this podcast, Travis? S tier? Yeah. Top of the line battle system with a complete nonsensical, crazy story. It reminds me of an old game that I really enjoyed that a lot of people didn't, that was kind of its own kind of Marmite taste, which is called Resonance of Fate. Do any of you remember that game?
Nope.
Great. Good times. Good talk. That's exactly how I was hoping that would go.
Yeah.
Resonance of Fate is a game where you essentially created the dungeon, the world that you were traversing with like little puzzle pieces that went together on the world. And then the battle system was, again, top of the line where you had to kind of dash between your two characters and
I remember this
patterns.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just looked it up. I do remember this game.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this came out when I was in high school, dude. This is an old game.
It's called seasoned gaming for a reason, folks. So Resonance of Fate, if you like that, if you understand what I am referring to there with a plot line that maybe isn't that compelling, that doesn't make a ton of sense, with a top of the line battle system that is driving you forward, that is what Saga Emerald Beyond is to me. And I absolutely love it. I think it got like a 3 or 4 out of 10 from IGN. So your mileage may vary.
Saga
Emerald Beyond.
Saga Emerald Beyond did not get reviewed by IGN.
Okay, they gave it a 0 or a not
Yeah,
applicable. Did not release.
Well, yeah, what happened is we covered the game, and there didn't seem to be enough interest in doing a review from.
I don't even think Square Enix advertised that they released it. It was just randomly on the list. I was like, I wonder when that's coming out. And it's like,
IGN didn't review it, but I believe it has like an 80 or something on Metacritic. I saw, so it's not reviewing badly. I think people seem to be having fun with it. So yeah, give that one a try. And for your reference, that game, Resonance of Fate, I think it was called.
Yes.
I remember that game because I played it in its entirety from a demo station at a Game Crazy.
Okay, well, I didn't
You guys were wondering what I was doing in those
Fair enough.
days. There you go.
Fair enough. Well, it reminds me of
Street Rat hanging out at a Game Crazy. What's up?
I think it's a taste that would have to work for you. But if any of what I just described sounded interesting, that game is there. It is built up with a battle system that will reward your efforts and will be absolutely inscrutable for at least the first half hour of you trying to figure out how the game works. But it's excellent.
I liked when you described the characters. Like, you didn't have to tell me it was a JRPG. Like, yeah, you kind of know as soon as you describe the characters.
I have an armored woman from the future named Wednesday.
There you go.
Sure.
It's that kind of game. That kind of game, folks.
Good day of the week.
Nice.
Spelled wrong though.
No Rest for the Wicked too got its first full patch other than all the hot fixes they've been running out. But this patch is like massive. Yeah.
Big boy patch.
Massive update. Added a whole bunch of things. They took care of inventory stuff. They had another house you can buy for cheaper for newer players. They touched up a lot of things from a quality of life perspective. So if you were previously still rating on No Rest for the Wicked when Travis and I talked about it, they're cooking over there. They're moving really quickly with getting things out.
Yeah, I'm glad I got that significant taste for the review, but I think I'm probably just going to wait for the full game to come out at this point because
I'm pretty similar.
Yeah, I have no idea how long this thing's going to be in early access because part of me thinks like maybe 6 to 9 months. Maybe they can pump this thing out really quick, but I also don't know how much of the story we've seen is all they've finished. I could see that taking a ton of time if they're building new areas and mobs and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how long this takes. What do you think? Do you have any idea?
No, but their roadmap called out because they have to add multiplayer yet, right? Co-op. That's the first thing they're doing.
Right,
and then on their roadmap, they already call out another region that they're adding. So I don't think it's done this year.
Yeah, I don't think this year, but I could see early next year.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of updates, there's 2 big ones we got news on this week too, which is Starfield and Diablo 4 Season 4, which Season 4 is more of like a revision of Diablo 4, it seems, like the overall mechanics.
I can talk about that one. I interviewed them.
Yeah, go.
Oh yeah, Diablo 4 Season 4 is called Loot Reborn. And I talked to the season directors and the higher ups that are working on the season as part of an interview we did with these guys. And Season 4 is a departure from the kind of normal cadence that they've got for seasons, where they're adding like a seasonal mechanic and telling you to spend a lot of time in your seasonal character. And it kind of focuses on changing and improving itemization and changing the end game a bit, especially Helltide events. And I would say 90% of the stuff that they talked about in the stream that they did this week is actually coming to your Eternal realm, the character that carries with you from season to season. And so really the only reason to make a seasonal character is if you want to see the seemingly brief kind of storyline that introduces the Iron Wolves and does that thing, but there's no like special mechanic that you can only access in the seasonal character or anything like that that you're going to be building on. It's more just kind of to see the story and a little bit of the seasonal content there, but it is largely just addressing player feedback and trying to improve the loot game. And they're simplifying itemization so that you get fewer random items that aren't really helpful and that it's easier to immediately understand items. They're also removing the aspects that you carry around and making it so that you can slap those bad boys into your Codex of Power and then access them at any time. So any good drops you get, you can immediately apply to endgame stuff. changing the way masterworking goes and kind of revitalizing that a little bit, and then also adding in like a supercharged version of different what's the word for not aspects,
Fixes.
affixes. Thank you. Yeah, supercharged versions of affixes, so that you can get like essentially a new tier of loot. I mean, they're not calling it that, but you're basically able to get certain items that have like an overpowered affix that does like a way higher percentage than others. So it kind of gives you like another end game thing to shoot for. And those items are also marked specifically even before you pick them up, which I think is pretty useful for those who are like deep in the end game. So it's kind of interesting if you're not really into the Diablo seasonal model, but you like Diablo 4. This might be a good time to hop back in, because you can access almost all of the changes on your existing Eternal Realm character, which I think is pretty interesting. And it's also just cool to see them get these out the door. My theory here is that they are doing this as sort of a test bed for the big expansion they have coming out later this year, which, when that comes out, they've got to have the end game sort of nailed and the itemization nailed, because it's going to be all eyes on the actual content. And I think they're using this as a kind of way to test this out, make sure people are happy with the base game, so that when those who are only going to come back for a big expansion, which are probably like me, I think like you, Ains, I think we're kind of the players that are going to come for the big tentpole events. When we come back, there's a end game that's waiting there, that's been vetted and tested and is ready to hook us and get us kind of playing for a long period of time. Tested by Hogue to hook the
tested by Hogue should be a sticker on games. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I am glad that people seem so excited about this. I have seen that same positivity around the internet, and I'm glad that people are excited. I've spoken on this show before about how I get worried about taking something that I really like and really connect with and 2.0ing it. Just like Dan doesn't like Cyberpunk 2.0, and I wound up liking it because I didn't like 1.0. I think you can have people that are excited about a change like this and people that get left behind in a change like this. I also noted in the stream and some of the content that they put out that there wasn't a lot of discussion about what this season would actually entail. I wasn't expecting this big loot modification to be the entire kind of season framework. I thought there would be a season story as well as this giant change to how Diablo 4 functions. And to me, it feels like they're skipping a season, right? And I understand people want to have these changes in the main game. I never really anticipated them re-itemizing all the loot and changing all that functionality, not going into the Eternal Realm. But you say it's a good time for people to jump in because they're already got characters in Diablo 4 and they can try it again. I agree. It doesn't seem to be a lot of reason for me to jump on it at any given time because there doesn't appear to be a season that really goes with this.
Yeah, if you're hopping into the season because you want to get a new mechanic and play through like a story, it seems like it's going to be pretty light. And yeah, I think they are skipping a season, but to me, they're doing it to make future seasons and especially the expansion a little bit better. And I wouldn't worry too much about the stuff they're changing, Hogue, because I was surprised to see how many of the changes were to simplification and making the casual player a little bit more, having a few more guardrails on like their time being valued and getting loot that isn't just like a complete waste and tossing it away, or getting certain aspects that they like but don't have room to store. Or they're basically, I think,
I agree 100% on the aspect stuff. That one was the most obvious, clear improvement. Not having an aspect bag, just having it pop in and being able to use what you found. But a number of the other changes that they describe, essentially having to go and tweak your own equipment more often to get to a place where you're happy with what it's doing. I can't say whether or not that'll prove to be more complicated in gameplay until I get in there and run around a little bit. But certainly having all those things listed out as things that you can change and tweak sounded more complicated to the layperson, me, just listening to it described.
I think what
it might feel in practice.
I think what it is in practice is that if you are the type of player who wants to get in there into the guts of all your weapons and optimize for like all the best versions of every aspect on every item, then the patch is going to give you the options to do that. But I think the second biggest changes, aside from the removal aspect, is actually the way that they're simplifying the affixes, because now the affixes are extremely clear and there are fewer options on every item for which ones can roll. And so their idea is, we want there to be randomization because that's a good thing, but we don't want you to completely get affixes as a part of your item that aren't helpful at all with your character class or build. And so they're kind of simplifying it so that more of the stuff you get is applicable to what you're trying to do. And for me, that's the second biggest change, because there was such a level of randomness and so many affixes in the pool of possibilities that you would often get stuff that was just completely irrelevant to what you were trying to do, and that would kind of invalidate the entire item if you were trying to optimize or min-max or whatever. And so I think that actually is going to change more than anything of the customization, because that's all optional, right? If you're really trying to get in there and
it
do
might
more.
be optional, it might not. When I see those kinds of changes happen, I understand that you don't have to engage with those systems, but I start to get worried about the careerists becoming the loud voices that do engage with those systems, and then everything is designed to make sure that they get challenged or whatever they have happen to them. I don't want to play Diablo 4 that way. So then I start to get worried about essentially the MMOification kind of hitting and saying, okay, well, yeah, you don't have to engage with those systems, but the person that does is going to get a tangible and material power bump of some kind. And we have to make sure that our Helltides or our bosses or whatever match the people that can get to that level of power. And so you better engage with it. You don't have to, but if you don't, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, because you can also change the world tier. So Diablo does have kind of built-in difficulty settings. Do you play in world tier 4 typically?
I do. I play in world tier 4 when I get to that capability. Obviously, when you start a new character in a season, you have to get back there.
Yeah, so I think there's possibilities. I get your concern if there's like a power creep situation and you have to learn all these complicated systems and play a ton to keep up. I don't think we're there yet, and this seems like it's actually pulling back a little bit some of the complicated, like, because right now in order to be competitive you have to grind for way longer than is fun to play in order to get the right drops, and it seems like they're trying to bring that more in line so that, you know, a couple hours of play you'll have a good enough setup to do some of the end game activities like Helltide and whatnot. Also, the new Helltide enemies they're introducing are pretty cool. They introduced dark versions of the PC characters, so you can run into like a demonic sorcerer, demonic druid, and like fight these guys, which is pretty cool. So yeah, man,
I like this conversation because it is a conversation that plagues so many games that are kind of live service or ongoing games, where you have this disparity or this disparate ideas of what makes the game fun. There's people like Hogue who want to play it more casually and don't want to be left out because the usually smaller, at least a percentage of the player base that are really the hardcore ones that get into all the nitty gritty, right? Their voice gets very loud and the developer starts to make changes to accommodate them. But then you start to lose the more, I don't want to say casual, but you know what I mean.
You can call me casual. I mean, I have 11 days, I think, in Diablo 4, but that's still casual on certain spectrums.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, right? It's like, to your point, there's the people who really want to get into the nitty gritty of fine tuning every ounce of DPS on every piece of equipment, right? And who will spend hundreds of hours doing that. And then there's people like yourself who really enjoy the game and the systems within it, but don't want to get to the point where you have to do those things, as you said, to enjoy the game. And it's always I couldn't imagine being a developer in one of these games, just trying to strike that balance is near impossible. There's always gonna be someone who's unhappy with the change you're making on either side.
It all comes down to who are you making your game for, right? This is something I talk about in Destiny a lot, because they often make changes to the meta to appeal to the streamers and YouTubers that have the loudest voice. And my argument has always been that unless you think you're making your game for 50 people who are your most elite dedicated fans, sometimes it is best to just ignore those folks and make your game for the every gamer that isn't engaging with those, and just let the content creators complain. But you know, it's tough because sometimes content creators have such a following that they convince laymen to argue against their own interests and get these systems implemented that actually wouldn't benefit them or make the game funner for them, which is always brutal. So it's an interesting push and pull, I say. To me, this is them giving more options. But to me, it kind of seems like it's actually pushing the game a little bit more toward the Hogue people, which I think is maybe a good idea, because I think they've discovered that the people who play a whole lot get burned out because of the mechanics in place that require just so much grinding and don't really respect your time. So I think this might end up being a win-win, especially once they have new content in the game with this new expansion. I think they're getting their ducks in a row for this expansion and really planning on this being like the thing that gets people to play Diablo 4 long term. And
I think of it in reverse,
shot.
which is to say that they would have changed these systems to build the content for that expansion. That's probably already happening. Definitely. And so this is a 6-month landing pad to get people used to what they've built into that late 2024 expansion. But I'm speaking honestly when I say I don't know how this is going to feel moment to moment. And certainly the way that you get these kinds of things talked to you about when you read patch notes or when you watch a stream like this, it does sound like a lot of changes, right? And as someone that is a lawyer and is naturally risk averse by profession, if not by demeanor, you look at that and say, I love this thing. What's it going to feel like with 100 changes? And you say it's going to be a little bit more casual. That's not how I read it when I was listening, but I will keep an open mind. It's just the fact of the matter is that I have loved this product, and maybe I'm too small to sustain it, or the group of Hogues out there playing it may be too small to sustain it. Travis, you're gonna make me laugh every time I do that. But I hope that I continue to love it after these changes are made.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm feeling pretty optimistic that you will like it.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's May 15th is when the battle pass for season 4 goes live. I don't know if that's the same day as the changes. I would presume so, but
that's the day they have up in their little window as to when season 4 starts.
Okay, so a week and a half. We'll talk about it, obviously. Dan, you put in the chat because you were off for a second, but you said No Man's Sky as an example here.
Yeah, it's well, that Cyberpunk was the same way for me. Mostly because I had to go back and then like redo all my builds. My builds became pretty obsolete, I think, once they released 2.0 or 2.1 or whatever it was. And it's just kind of frustrating. No Man's Sky there was like a sweet spot, I feel like. At first it was garbage. I mean, it was just bare bones. And Sea of Thieves kind of the same way. And there's a point where it just becomes oversaturated with content. Like there's a spot that you have to find, and I think a lot of developers either miss it and go way overboard, or just don't get to that point. Like the Division 2, I feel like is a good example of where, you know, like now especially they're just kind of throwing out stuff that they've done before, right? And
just rehashing minor stuff.
Yeah, rehashing. Yeah, because there's really, you know, there's a lot of content there, and it's at a level where I think hardcore fans and casual people that play it and people that are in the middle are, you know, that's a nice little area to be in, and that's why I kind of stray away from these kind of games. You know, I don't play a lot of the live service stuff because it's just there's too much to it, man.
I feel the same about No Man's Sky, and I think you're right. I think there's probably a line that can get drawn. I think Diablo is probably a slightly different conversation, being the history of Diablo in an ARPG, sure. But No Man's Sky is a good example because for me, I like that game early on too. And when I tried to get back into it last year, and of course, it wanted me to start building things, and I'm like, "You've already lost me. I'm already uninstalling." Like
they've been wanting you to do that from the beginning, though. I mean, that's been.
I put 100 hours in that game at launch. No Man's Sky at launch. I put 100 hours in the game. Yeah, I just really enjoyed just kind of being, you know, out. I've said many times, just go into a different world and explore. And it didn't have a lot of content. No, it needed a lot of work. But I at least enjoyed it. Whereas now, to Dan's point, I think it asks you to do so much to begin with. I'm like, this isn't fun to me. It just, you know, it lost that charm.
Damn, you guys. These are games I enjoy. No Man's Sky.
But I applaud Hello Games, obviously, doing what they've done with No Man's Sky. It's one of the biggest success stories. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
I'm okay with Blizzard saying we want to go find the market, and if we leave Hogue behind, it's just one guy.
It's fine.
That's how it happens. But I will express my disappointment if that were to be what happened, because I'm the guy that's Hogue.
Oh, I'm gonna go to Holo Games, and I'm gonna get everyone on Reddit and Discord to definitely thrash them. And
right.
I'm gonna definitely,
I'm gonna make
I'm
a
gonna let my
seamless.
voice be heard. Yeah.
I'm gonna make a seamless and track every game that they're involved with, and then boycott it.
But I mean, in all honesty, like Diablo 4 was different than Diablo 3. Diablo 4 was different from whatever other games people are playing, Path of Exile. And it got a lot of crap online. I watched it get a lot of crap online for not having that kind of level of build crafting and itemization. And that was a conversation I had with my brother, who also said he didn't like Diablo 4 as much as some of those alternatives because he preferred to get into more of the mechanics and have some of those interactions. And I said, well, I like Diablo 4. And to me, this is going to segue into the conversation we're going to have about the Starfield patch. I want designers to have a philosophy. I want them to have built something that they believe in and make choices in the design for reasons that they felt were right to make the game more engaging or fun. I'm not saying that's not happening behind the scenes at Blizzard right now, but it seems to be that it is trying to go and take Diablo 4 into more the direction of these other products that are already online. And that may not work for me. That may not be what I want. And similarly with Starfield, we talked about it when it came out. I was pretty adamant about the belief that the design for Starfield was such that it didn't require city maps. It didn't require icons everywhere on your screen in order to get around these various areas. I was adamant at the time, Travis.
We did talk about
You were adamant. I just thought it was still a bad design choice.
Right. And reasonable minds can differ on design choices, certainly, but I really connected with this notion of you have to be in the space and understand the space in a way that you would be in real life. And a lot of people didn't, right? And now we have Bethesda saying here in the middle of May, we're going to get a patch that has what are, to me, pretty ugly icons all over your scanner screen and pretty ugly maps of these cities that also kind of expose how small and constrained the areas are when you can kind of let your imagination run wild a little bit more when you don't have that kind of obvious interfacing with the game. And I look at that and say, you're walking back what were your original design philosophies. To some extent, it's because you're getting feedback and you think people think those are wrong. But I always would prefer to see these products have some philosophy rather than just kind of tacking towards whatever the mass market wants on this stuff, because I think you do lose flavoring in games and everything becomes a little bit more vanilla.
I would say that the maps really reveal the illusion of Starfield. They're actually kind of a perfect metaphor for the game, which is that the game looks like it is an open world, massive game, and the more you play it, the smaller it feels. That is kind of how I felt playing that game over 200 hours. Is like by the end of 200 hours, I was like, this wasn't the game I thought it was in the first 10, like it wasn't the same thing. Like the areas are really, it feels like a very small game when you really get down to it. And so the fact that the maps point that out is kind of funny, but also I would have enjoyed having them because it took me like 10 hours, 15 hours of running around some of these cities to figure out actually how constrained they are, which is a way worse way to find out than looking at the map and going, okay, it's not that big of an area. Because I had to find out the hard way without labels, and dude, that is frustrating, especially when you're making guides and trying to explain it to other people.
I know in my,
Did you shut that off? Wouldn't that be? I mean, are they going to make that an option?
Oh, in the new one,
your HUD?
I don't know.
You just not look. I don't know. You can probably turn off.
Well, no, I mean, if you, I mean, there's so many games that have that option where you can just take out, adjust your HUD to whatever you want it to be. So I imagine.
I hope it's optional. I really do. Sure. I certainly, when they turn on the scanner in the little video they made of their patch and like 700 icons come up, that is not my favorite video game experience.
Oh no,
no, me neither. Me neither. I mean, I've talked a lot about that too. So yeah, I guess we'll see. It's funny you say that though. Not to harp on Starfield, but by the way, this update is coming in a week and a half, almost exactly when Diablo 4's update is coming. So big updates for major games. But yeah, I felt the same way, Travis. I know we've talked about this. Like, I still maintain that Starfield would have been a much better game for me, at least, if it would have been 3 or 4 worlds instead of trying to do the whole 1,000 planet thing. Just dedicate your time to make a handful of worlds that were fully developed, that were much larger in space and allowed more exploration and kind of mystery than what we got.
And you can see kind of the potential of Starfield in the areas where they focus up, like in the 4 faction storylines, which are like the best part of the game, I would say even better than the main story. They do such a good job with those that for that stretch of time, it was like 10 hours of kind of roughness. And then I had like this golden section of just like where I was experiencing the best, most focused content in Starfield and was really liking it. And then like a back half of like 120 hours where I was just like, oh my God, please stop. And I think a lot of that was just like, they treat the bloat like it's a really critical part of the game, and they like guide you to it and go like, look at all this extra stuff. And then once you engage with it, you start to see through the illusion and you're like, oh, this isn't real content. This is just them trying to make it feel like a big expansive game without giving you any real meat on the bone. It's like, biting into a chicken wing and it's all like cartilage, it just has, it leaves you with like a real bad kind of feeling in your mouth.
That's horrible on the Foodcast, but I think I think where we disagree is I think that the faction quests and the main quest, the real story elements of Starfield are more than enough to satisfy an RPG player. I think they're bigger. I think they're vaster and more impressive than perhaps large parts of Cyberpunk as a comparison point. And yeah, I agree with you that the procedural elements and the base building and that kind of stuff didn't work out the way that people would have hoped, the way Bethesda, I assume, would have hoped. And it would have been better if everything were the Crimson Fleet quest line and everything were New Atlantis and those kinds of things. But I think those things are still in the game. And to the extent that you can ignore some of the more clunky procedural design elements, Starfield as a whole is still a good time and a good enjoyable thing to play.
I agree.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, if you hop in and you get past the 10 hours that I think are a trudge at the beginning, and then just do the side quests, the main faction campaigns, and then dip, you can have a great time. But it certainly is a game that asks you, and in certain ways really, really encourages you to engage in everything else. And I would say everything else is pretty bad. They're telling you to go to the buffet a lot of the time and eat that stale buffet food. And I just think it's unless you have a lot of discipline and are okay just looking at one part of it and going, this is great. The bigger picture gets a little bit more dicey. I still think it's a good game. Like I'm with a 7 out of 10 on this one. I think it's good. I just think when you're Bethesda and you say that this is going to be the RPG that changes all of mankind or whatever the heck they were saying right before it came out. I think there's certain expectations. I don't think Starfield met those.
The other thing, of course, this patch, which was a big debate prior to launch, was frame rate, right? So this patch is going to have a performance mode with a target of 60 FPS. So we'll see.
That target 60 FPS is telling language.
Yes,
that baby's not going to hit 60, or it's going to cost you all their lighting, or both. What I really like about the frame rate patch discussion is that they are adding a VRR 120/40 option, which is to me where the magic lives, right? We talk about VRR 40 a lot with the Insomniac games. They've really done that with their Spider-Man and their Ratchet and Clank. And if you haven't gotten to experience it, I know it requires some tech. It requires a TV that can handle it. They 120 frame rate TV can do a frame rate locked 40 frames per second on these games, and it feels better than 30. I would argue that it feels pretty close to 60 by how I feel about it, and still keep the quality of the graphics. So still keep the sharpness of the resolution and whatever other particles or things that game is doing. And so Starfield having a 40 VRR option, I think, is going to be a big win for them. Yep. I suspect 60 frames per second is not going to be very solid based on the description they put in their notes.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be locked either.
Come on.
I just don't think it is. It's more of an engine issue, in my opinion.
That was a good Marcus Phoenix. Come on. Oh, come on. Jamming the gun. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Plague Tale Requiem was a great example of a 40 FPS VRR mode done very well. That's what I played it in. It was excellent. So we'll see. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk more about Diablo and Starfield here after these major updates, and we'll see how they turn out. And of course, those updates come that same week, less than a week to when Hellblade 2 officially releases as well. So, which is right around the corner. Crazy enough, 2 weeks.
Hellblade 2.
You probably can't
Hellblade
say one
2.
way or the other publicly, but you all don't have copies of Hellblade 2 yet?
You're right. We can't say publicly. Thanks, Hogue.
Yeah, so more to come on that soon. All right. Any other game? We're going to jump over to the Summer Game Fest schedule here. We got a super chat to get to as well. But any other game anyone wants to shout out?
I have one last one that I wanted to talk about, but I don't want to just dominate the conversation.
Well, hold on for one second here.
Yeah.
I was searching through some stuff, and I was thinking, I was like, what other games can I pick up? Because I'm only playing basically MLB right now.
Yeah.
Ronin, as usual. I just came across Who's Your Daddy? Have you guys seen this?
Of course.
I have.
Who's Your Daddy's a classic game.
This is it's just released on the PlayStation. It's it's asymmetrical multiplayer game where you've got several dads and then one baby. Somebody plays the baby.
Isn't this
the baby? You're trying to kill yourself apparently or harm yourself in some way. And as the dad, you have to save your baby. And I'm really kind of thinking that I might have to get back into some multiplayer here.
Whoa. Big announcement on Bitcast 291.
It's only a $10 game. But apparently you can stick a fork in a outlet and put yourself in a dryer. This is fantastic.
So
watch the trailer.
I hope Tide is still here. I think she is. Someone in our community said that we, Bitcast, the four of us, should do a community stream of Who's Your Daddy. And I can't remember who said that. Someone has told us that before. Yes, it originally came out in 2015, so it is an older game.
And it also was in Xbox Early Access, which is how I got exposed to it. It was in the Early Access program there as well.
Does it have crossplay?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I would be surprised if it did, but it does have local multiplayer, so let's all hang out together.
Well, guys, Dan and I can do that. Since two of us are here, you two have to come here. So that's
would make the most sense since you're kind of in between, but I still refuse. I'm just kidding. No, I'll travel. Let's do it.
I'll just wind up going to the wrong state. I'll be in Kansas wandering around.
Yeah.
I feel like my computer could run this anyway, but
yes.
Yeah. I mean, it just looks amazing.
Episode 300 should be in person, by the way.
I mean, come on down.
Let's do it.
Come on.
Go.
We're open.
With a studio audience, with a live studio audience.
But Dan, that's cool. Yeah, check that out. Let us know. I have not played it, but definitely someone has talked to us about that before. So you will have to let us know.
This is craziness. There's a wood chipper in it, man. My God.
There is. You can throw yourself into a wood chipper.
Amazing.
And try to drown yourself. There's a lot of fun stuff in that game. I get to live out all of my fantasies.
I was going to say that's a clip for you folks. That's a clip for Travis.
Yeah.
Yep. Have at it.
God.
All right.
Wait, we still have Hogue's notes to do, guys.
There's just one last thing I wanted to mention. This is where I got confused about games IGN hates. So IGN hates this next one, which is fine. But I have been enjoying more meditative experiences in my video games. And Nintendo released perhaps the most meditative game this last week called Endless Ocean Luminous. And this is a, I guess, quasi-sequel, spiritual sequel to an older Nintendo game in which you dive into the ocean and you look at fish and an AI voice reads you fish facts until you get up in rank and can then change the color of your scuba gear and go find more fish to learn more fish facts, all while kind of new agey trance music plays behind you and you hear oxygen sounds of your scuba diver. But this time it's online, so you can play with multiple divers in the same ocean and get a new procedurally generated area to find new fish. And it is relaxing. I know we don't say that a lot about video games, but it is relaxing. And I wanted to at least mention that it came out because I didn't hear anybody talking about it. And if you like scuba diving and looking at fish, like we know Travis does, because he skewers those fish and sells them in a sushi restaurant all the time.
Sure do.
Then maybe he'd like it, but I wouldn't recommend it to him because it's everything I described is the entire game. The fish do not combat you. They don't attack you. They don't attack each other. You are looking for fish and then occasionally treasures on the sea floor.
I've not played this game, but just looking at it and hearing Logan talk about it, who did the review for IGN and did not like it. I think this is one of those games where, it probably has benefited from a lot of different perspectives because some people are going into it from like a Nintendogs that is kind of just an app that does one thing perspective, and some
It just
people
is
are
what it
looking at
is.
some
It
people
does
are
what it
looking at
does.
it as like, hey, this is a pretty boring game, which I could see myself falling on either side of that, to be honest. So, if it sounds
Don't
like
get me
your
wrong.
thing, play
It is
it.
a pretty boring game, but
That is what the review says on IGN. So,
but you can potentially engage with it. Like, not every game has to be The Last of Us or fighting zombies and everything else. So it's very peaceful. It's very
that is the
meditative.
definition of a video game. You can potentially engage with it. It's really all we're here for.
I'm just trying to tell people what it is and that people can enjoy that experience as I have. But I wanted to make sure that we referenced it because it is technically a major Nintendo release. And it's worth checking out if any of that sounds interesting to you. Just don't expect combat or really any kind of pushback on progress. You're going and getting those fish. You're getting that information. You're filling out a log of the fish that you have found, and you're going up an experience. And there is technically a story tab, but it is not a story-based game. It's really just kind of levels where you do things randomly.
Is that it for Hoag's Notes?
That is it for Hoag's Notes this week.
Hoag's
By
Notes.
the way,
Hoag's Notes. This has been Hoag's Notes.
I'm gonna get you to do the voiceover when I create the graphic. By the way, who's your daddy? I was right in remembering that Tide was the one trying to get us to play that. And she has said, obviously, you do not have to be next to each other or near each other to play. You can play it online. So I am down to stream this game. So if the four of us want to play online, I will stream so everyone can see it. But we have to figure out, obviously, when, and I would assume we'd have to all be on the same platform. And when I stream, I'm usually on PC. So
good to know.
Let me know. Yeah, but that could be fun. We could play
I will
some
play
clips.
Who's Your Daddy with you guys. I will destroy you at that game. My baby will be dead before you even know what's happening.
Dan Ho, can you play on PC?
I
mean,
should
it
be
doesn't
able
look
to.
graphically intensive at all.
No.
So
No.
yeah, I can probably pull that off.
All right, Tide, you may get your wish. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about it offline. Do have a couple of super chats to get to before we jump over to the showcase schedule. Debbie W is here.
Debbie W. Speaking of live service games, big World of Warcraft update this week. We're starting our journey into the next expansion with the Dark Heart patch. Man,
very nice, very nice. We will have review of that on SG. There's a couple guys, Eric, Steve, who are like diehard World of Warcraft players.
Like one of the original Recipe live service games. Sorry, EverQuest.
No, I was
anyway
laughing because I knew it was Steve before you said it. As soon as you said we're reviewing this at SG, I was like, Steve.
Oh, Steve covers Warcraft all the time, but Eric does too. Eric does as well. So yeah, they'll be covering that. So yeah. Exciting times. I've heard good things about kind of modern World of Warcraft, like the last year plus or so. Like it had that kind of lull.
I hung out with a World of Warcraft like elite player last night for our Star Wars celebration, and he was telling me that they just keep re-releasing stuff, and that the current content's pretty not great. But that's one guy's perspective. So I don't know if that's maybe that's just the recent content, or
I'll see what Steve thinks about that. All right,
let's see.
All right. Debbie, thank you very much. We got a member comment from Cherry.
Hey, Cherry, thanks for the member comment and being a member for 15 months. Congratulations on your reward, Hoag.
If I could,
I did
really
vote for the
really
Puerto
quickly
Ricans,
interject.
at least twice. So, but you got
Cherry
most
Mills.
of my votes.
Cherry Mills, not to bring you down or anything, and certainly not to undercut the accomplishment here, but you don't need to congratulate somebody who just received an award. The award was the congratulations. Really, you're congratulating him for getting congratulated. All right? It's a little overkill, Cherry Mills. That's what I have to say here.
By comparison, I was going to say I once lived on a road called Cherry Hill.
Within us, there are two wolves. One is Travis telling people not to congratulate others for being congratulated. The other is a pleasant comment about a hill he once lived on.
I'm supposed to host this show.
Good luck, Timmy.
Oh my
the
god!
duality of man here.
I got nothing. Jerry, thank you for the member comment. And then Mr. Alden Bear, a name I have not said in a long time. How are you doing, my friend?
Yes, Alden. It's good to see you, my friend. Dan's my daddy. That is true.
We don't have to play. That's the answer.
Yeah, that's it. Me and Alden used to do.
Well, then wouldn't Alden have killed himself by now? Isn't that the point of the game?
What you're talking about? The baby?
No, who's your daddy? If you're Alden's daddy, then Alden is on a quest to kill himself, right? Via the game.
That means that Dan is a really good daddy because he saved Alden long enough for him
he did. Alden's been around a while.
And leave a super chat. All right, that's good parenting right there.
I'm not comfortable with the direction of this conversation.
5 years ago or so, we did a podcast called Third Wheel Arcade. It was only like maybe 20 episodes, and we would just have like a random somebody else on the show that would be our.
I was on it.
You was on it. You were on it a few times, and PlayStation Bra and Nick from Lords of
Iron Lords.
Iron Lords, yeah.
Nick Downey, yeah.
Yep. There's a bunch of people. We just kind of rotated in and out. It was super fun. It was stupid. And really it was not this. It was completely the opposite. It wasn't like console worry. It was just like I would dress up as like Nostradamus or something, or I can't remember exactly. I had like weird glasses and like just stupid little bits. I'd have like one, it was like, like a change my mind, section with, Tetris sucks, change my mind, or something like that. And we just had a good time. It was just a really fun time. I miss Alden. We had a really good time doing that stuff. We should revive it, man. Bring it back. And
Alden was one of the early guests on Bitcast too, very early on.
Yep.
A few years ago. So good to see you, Alden. Hope you're doing well.
Love that guy.
Predates me.
Predates you.
By a lot.
Predates a lot.
Yeah. He takes priority over you. So if he wants to come on, Travis, you're out.
Yeah, you're sorry.
Dude, please take free.
This is a strict seniority system.
All right, let's jump over to the summer game kind of schedule here. What is E3 but not E3 apparently, because it's more of a much bigger pain in the ass than trying to organize E3. So we got a few updates this week, and we kind of have the not tentative, but we kind of have the schedule of what's going to be happening right there in the first week of June, what would have been E3 this year. So first thing kicking us off is actually Summer Game Fest. Keely's got to get out in front, right? So his show is going to be on June 7th, which is a Friday, kind of starts the weekend off at 2 p.m. Pacific. So very similar to what you would expect out of prior Summer Game Fest, except for this is the first one that's going to be live from YouTube Theater with guests in attendance, I believe. I will probably be there as well, which would be cool with a bunch of people. But, reveals, announcements, and then immediately following Summer Game Fest, they're doing Day of the Devs. If you don't know what Day of the Devs is, it's a bunch of indie game announcements with a bunch of smaller developers. It's a lot of fun. So, that's kind of a cool thing to pay attention to as well.
Day of the Devs is cool.
It's called.
Yeah, it is.
I love that it's called YouTube Theater, because it makes me think that we're going to get a bunch of YouTubers to perform stage plays, stage versions of their shows, which would honestly be horrifying, and I want to buy tickets immediatting. So.
I'll be singing Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I would love to see Hoax Bye Bye Birdie. That'd be great. Standing ovation, 10 minutes.
What do we feel? What do we feel about Summer Game Fest? Do you have any hype for this show?
I mean,
I'm sure there will be cool announcements.
Yeah, there will be good stuff. I love Day of the Devs every time they do one. So I think that'll be cool stuff. Yeah, it'll be a good show.
Yeah, we'll see. I always wonder when they start to, like in summer where there's like several shows back to back, like who's going to get what? Do you know what I mean? Because they obviously have to work with different publishers and different developers to see who's going to get what announcements. So,
and if you're doing your own show, which IGN is, you sort of know where you got scooped or what announcements the other shows don't have or what announcements you don't have. And so it's kind of interesting to see how that plays out, but it's going to be fun.
Well, presumably Sony is going to make video games again at some point and has to reveal them somewhere.
Indeed.
Yeah, and we don't have that confirmation yet. The prevailing kind of rumor at the moment is that Sony's going to go early in late May. So in a few weeks, there'll be a Sony showcase prior to kind of this whole summer E3 schedule. We'll see.
That would be very
yeah.
Sony. They love to go early.
They do their own thing, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, which should be where we get the PS5 Pro announcement. It's coming. So, I mean, if it's launching this year, they have to announce it, by summer, you would think. So, we'll see. You could see that being a Summer Game Fest too, potentially. So that is, and keep in mind, everything we're talking about really is Friday, June 7th through Monday, June 10th. That's kind of the E3 weekend this year. So IGN Live, IGN's doing their own thing this year. Travis convinced them, that they need to do a 3-day show. So Friday through Sunday, actually. So 3 days, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific each day. They're going to be doing an IGN Live event. They will be having announcements and game reveals. Again, to what level, we don't know. Travis may have some insight. We do not. And the biggest question...
This is going to be full of IGN quote-unquote personalities, no?
Yep.
Probably, yes.
Okay.
And it is a in-person event as well. So I do... Like me and a bunch of people will be going to it. They're going to be doing, just on-site things, having fun with the crowd. But the bigger question is, why is Travis not involved in this, sir? You should be there.
Pretty easy answer there, which is why would they need me for this? Would they need me to review the panels? And I don't know. Yeah, it would be cool to be there if they were like, for example, Fireteam Chat is up and running again. So if there was any interest in like us doing a panel or whatever. But the reason is we have our main office now is in SoCal in LA. And so all of the people who are in that area are certainly going to be involved and be here. The important people from NorCal, like Max Scoville and Brian, who live up in my neighborhood, they're going to be traveling. And then the people like myself that are probably working at other stuff during this month would be my guess, are likely not going to be there. I would love to find an excuse, but if I do end up going to this, I will likely find out like a week before the show happens, and I'll be like, okay, I need to go down and cover something or do some preview or whatever they would have me do.
Go review the showcase. I want to hear IGN's review of IGN.
IGN's review of IGN's show. It wouldn't be able to go on IGN.com, I don't think. That seems like a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I know that there's a team hard at work on this. I don't really know a ton about what to expect because I'm not particularly involved in it, but it seems cool. I would like to go if I had a reason to be there. I just don't know that I do. So unfortunately.
Yeah, I hope you get down. We'll see. I know a bunch of people, like I said, in the community are kind of coordinating on these things. I know Cog will be there. A bunch of other people that we've had on the show too. So it should be a good time. Luke, I'm making plans with Luke from Xbox Expansion Pass right now. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Then we got the announcement this week formally. I think we talked a couple weeks ago about rumors that Gears and State of Decay 3 were going to be showing up at Xbox this year, the showcase. They announced the showcase formally this week, so that is going to be on Sunday, June 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific. They're doing a showcase followed by what they said was a redacted reveal. So if you remember last year, they did their showcase and then they spent 45 minutes directly on Starfield. This year, they're doing their showcase and then spending a dedicated portion of time on another game. It is Call of Duty. They didn't say it's Call of Duty, but anyone who knows the Cerberus logo is from Call of Duty. So going back to what we said about the Gulf War, which, by the way, we got a lot of jokes about in our comments after the conversation.
Pretty funny.
You had, Travis. Yeah, we'll learn all about Call of Duty, I presume, kind of like they used to do, Activision used to do when they would have their Call of Duty announcement stream where they would show the game. It's probably just going to be similar to that after the Xbox showcase. So what I do know is it's not going to be in the same location as last year. The all of us that are kind of coordinating to go, it seems to be a smaller location this year with less live people invited. I don't know if that means anything for the showcase itself. I guess we'll see. And they haven't said anything specific outside of the date and the time. So we'll see. We talked previously.
Remind me, was that the show where they had claimed that everything was going to come out within a year?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, last year. I mean, they've had really good showcases the past few years. Last year they showed 30, I want to say 32 games, something like that. But this year, remember Hellblade 2 comes out in a couple weeks, so that'll already be out. So we won't see that at a show again, which is nice. But
come on now. Just because it's out doesn't mean they're not going to do a little sequence on it.
Yeah, like they have to show it. But remember that Avowed, Indiana Jones are both still due this year as of now. So I'm assuming we'll get updates on those and release dates. Gears is the big rumor, State of Decay 3, obviously Call of Duty. But I really don't know. There's a lot of kind of speculation around what's going to be out there. But I don't know if there's anything from Xbox first party, knowing Bethesda, Blizzard, etc., that you guys would be expecting out of this show. Like, do we see South of Midnight? Do we see Clockwork Revolution from In Exile, which I'm really pumped about from an RPG perspective? Do we see more of those games? Do we see Perfect Dark finally after years of whatever the hell's going on with that game?
I would be surprised if we see much of anything from Xbox's most recent show, since those games were largely like new announcements where we didn't really get gameplay. Maybe for like
do you mean the developer direct one they had?
Yeah,
the one you mean last year? I don't know what you meant.
The one where they did like South of Midnight and those games.
South of Midnight was shown last year.
Was that last year? Really?
Yeah.
Time flies, doesn't it?
Was that last year during June, or was it? I thought it was last year end of year. Oh my god! Wow, that was long. That was a long time ago. Okay. I kind of would expect them to focus on stuff that we know is farther along, like the game Obsidian's working on.
Avowed.
Avowed. Thank you.
So So we know we'll get Avowed. Well, no, we'll get Indie.
Yeah. We know we'll get some of that stuff. What else are we gonna get? I think you're right about Gears. I think Gears is probably time, right? They've got to have been working on that for a while.
Yeah, and the rumor is we're going to get 2 Gears things, so that the Gears of War collection is actually going to release. And the rumor that came out this week, again, we're saying rumors, but the rumor is that Gears of War collection, the remastering of 1, 2, 3, right, is going to come on to PlayStation as well. That's what people are speculation right now.
That'd be weird.
But that would be weird. I don't know. That's just a rumor. That's circling behind the scenes. And then Gears, the next true Gears, which would be Gears 6, right?
To be fair, there are a lot of rumors when it comes to what games are going to be on what platform.
Yes.
The Helldivers 2 thing, which I just straight up don't believe. But I don't know. I don't know how you believe that. It would be cool to get a Gears 2 and 3 that were up to the level of the Gears 1 remaster, because I replayed all those Gears games with D, and the jump from 1 to 2's 360 graphics is pretty stark when you go and you play the 1 remaster, and then you go, okay, let's do 2 and 3, and you're like, whoa, these are old. So it'd be cool to get those.
What do you guys think about that? Actually, I don't know if we've talked about that. Do you care whatsoever? Probably not on this panel, but like, people have asked me, they're like, well, about the whole Xbox game on PlayStation, or PlayStation, Xbox, what have you, and they're like, well, what if they put Halo on PlayStation, thinking that that's going to anger me? And I'm like, do it. Like, that would be a good thing. You have more players, you have more revenue. Like, why not? I don't care at this point. So like, what do you guys think?
I mean, I have all the consoles, obviously, so I don't know that I'm the right person to ask on these things, but no, it wouldn't bother me. It also wouldn't sell me a copy. So
sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me either. I think there are some games that make sense to keep it exclusive to your console if your plan is to try to get an install base on lots of consoles. I don't know that is Microsoft's plan. I think they're trying to get people to subscribe to their Game Pass, and I think you can do that just by having a console where the option is subscribe and then don't buy the full games, and then you just put up lots of good games that people want. Then people will adopt your platform, especially if they don't have to buy your game outright on your platform. But I think there are some games where maybe it makes sense, right? They're flagship products. I certainly think PlayStation's model, it makes sense to put your single player story games only on your platform, because your entire business model is about having that walled garden. I just don't know that that's Xbox's model, and as a gamer, I don't know why you would ever argue against games being available in more places. That doesn't make sense to me. It might make sense to the business
in the macro, right? If you do believe that competition among the hardware sellers is important, you don't want to have one dissolve. And so
sure.
At the highest level, if you think Xbox putting everything on PlayStation is essentially saying we're going to get out of the hardware business entirely, and there's going to be no outside pressure on PlayStation, which I think is some people's worry.
And they're not, but
Yeah.
I'm just articulating why you could potentially care about this.
Yeah.
I don't. Right. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's a legitimate worry. I don't think that PlayStation is ever going to exist in a vacuum anyway, because there's so much tech money out there that even if someone isn't actively making a console, you're just encouraging Amazon to take another look. You're just encouraging Google to take another look, whoever it is, if Sony gets all crazy with their policies or whatnot. I already think we're there to some extent. I think Sony dropped the ball over the last couple of years, and we're in an absolute desert of Sony content. That's why you see them branding Rise of the Ronin. That's why you see them branding Stellar Blade. These are not pure Sony first-party original games. They're just trying to kind of...
The perception is that they are, though.
They're trying to... Well, yeah, gamers, and they've marketed them that way. They're trying to scrabble towards the next whatever PlayStation game might be. But they have this huge desert of content. And I think when people think about Microsoft, that's one of the things that they don't like, is that Sony has clearly got a problem with their content pipeline right now. And to some extent, it feels like Microsoft is bailing them out.
Yeah, potentially. I think there's also, I agree, first of all, and they're not getting out of the hardware business. They're just not. But I think that, I think the other thing when you talk about this conversation is too, it depends on the game. Like, the reason I say I'm okay with Halo, even though I love Halo and Halo has always been an Xbox franchise, is that at the end of the day, Halo is a live service title, right? It's a competitive online multiplayer that requires players and investment and microtransactions to fund future development. And I think in those cases, it makes a lot of sense. It's already cross-play between PC and Xbox. You put it on another platform who's wanted to play that. If you can get a couple million new players, why wouldn't you?
Also, imagine how much fun it would be to beat the piss out of PlayStation.
Yeah, they have to use the DualSense to play me in Halo.
Not only that, they don't have any shooters on their platform. What are they even going to? You know what I mean? Like, they're just going to get absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think it sounds fun to me. It sounds fun to me.
But I think that's why we like. The other kind of interesting thing about the Gears rumor, right, is you take Gears collection and you introduce a new audience to those games, or potentially a new audience, right, a subsection. And they're remastered and they enjoy it and they engage with the characters, whatever, you pick up some people. But then the new Gears, right, Gear 6 or whatever, if they call it Gears subtitle something.
Tactics 2.
Let's hope.
You never know.
Let's hope.
You never know. Gears Tactics is a good game, man.
Gears Tactics is underrated. 100%.
It is. But then you say the Gears game, the new one, right, is only on Xbox, PC, or Game Pass, or what have you. So there's different approaches.
Or timed exclusive, or it's has parity on everything, but you don't have to pay for it if you play on Xbox because of Game Pass. Like, there's
those
a lot
are
of
options.
Different models, and I don't
options.
think any of them mean Xbox is going away. It's just that there are people with old brains that are looking at this through the old lens of like, hey, you selling consoles is the only way to succeed in this business, and that's just plainly not true anymore.
I think people are legitimately sensing that there is a lack of direction, of chosen direction from Microsoft management and higher ups, and that lack of kind of specified direction is leading to people thinking that any of the worst of their possible scenarios could happen, because I don't think we are getting that kind of strong leadership voice. Here's the direction we're going to go, because I don't think that Microsoft knows exactly what they're going to do. You labeled the options you can do. You can have the other games on PlayStation, advertise Game Pass. You can do all these various things to make your model work potentially, but it doesn't seem like there's agreement as to what that would look like. And we're in a period of transition for what Microsoft is doing and has done historically anyway. So I think people are reacting to that, right? You don't feel the sturdy hand on the wheel of what Xbox wants to be or what they can be. And you get all these financial reports now that show that their hardware is in a ditch and that the Game Pass profits aren't really covering for it. And you say, well, we've seen Google opt out of every product they've ever made that doesn't make $1 trillion. Maybe Microsoft says goodbye. And I don't think that's going to happen either. And I think they've invested all this money in being a publisher of a certain size with the intellectual property that they now own. But I don't blame anybody for looking at the situation and saying, well, we're in a period of transition. We're not in a stable 3 pillars kind of gaming economy right now. So what's it going to look like in the future? We don't know. And at the same time, we're getting news every day of layoffs and companies shutting down and shuttering other developers that they've purchased in the last few years and things like that. So yeah. I understand people who are nervous about things. I tend to agree that there are ways forward and that it's clear that Microsoft has invested this money to stay in the gaming industry to some extent, but I don't blame anybody for saying, I don't trust the noises I am hearing from Microsoft as to what they're going to be in the future.
I think that's well said, Hogue. Yeah, I think it is very fair.
Do you guys think that some people may think that it's devaluing their purchases or libraries or anything else that they've built up?
Some people definitely feel that. Yes.
I think there is an argument for it, right? If you bought an Xbox because you already owned a PlayStation and you want to play Xbox games and now Xbox games are on PlayStation, for sure, you probably regret buying an Xbox, because if you would have known that, you wouldn't have bought the Xbox, right? But I don't think there's a actual value to a diminished value to the ecosystem, especially when you have some of the exclusive things that Xbox does that PlayStation doesn't, and you can list the pros and cons. I like things that each of the consoles do, and they balance each other. But yeah, I could see a PlayStation guy who just bought an Xbox and now is learning that all the games that he bought an Xbox for are going to be on PlayStation and being like, damn it, why wouldn't you be like that?
Don't believe your sunk cost fallacy. It's a natural human condition, but don't do it. If you spent the money, you already spent the money. And someone else enjoying something isn't going to take that away from you. If you want to talk about the macro strategies and things, I'm all for it. But don't look at what you spent money on as making sense before changing because they're deciding to do something else strategically. Now, if you want to complain about the fact that apparently all we're going to get for years and years and years is remakes of games we either already played and enjoyed or already played and didn't enjoy, that's also a conversation, right? Because I am not energized by Gears collection, all right, any more than I am by Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 and Part 3 again, or whatever it's going to be, right? So I think that I'm over all of these remakes. I would like to see new products and new things to get excited about. And unfortunately, even the stuff that is ostensibly new, like a kind of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, is a remake of an older game that was more beloved, right? So when we talk about video gaming right now, I get more excited about Saga Emerald Beyond. I get more excited about the various things that I bring up in Hogue's notes, because
Hogue's notes.
Gears collection is not going to get me out of bed in the morning.
I think yes, I get it, and I agree with you. But I think in this case, if we get a Gears collection alongside the new Gears, I'm okay.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like if the announcement comes alongside a new game, it's like, hey, we're releasing a new game, and also if you want to get your body ready by playing these remasters, then I'm more okay with it. That said, my level of excitement goes in order from like lowest to highest, of like lowest being remasters and remakes, and then above that sequels, right? Which Gear 6 is a sequel beyond whatever, and I'm and then like new stuff and weird and experimental is like top of the list for me. And so I think this is a problem not with Xbox, not with PlayStation, but with big publishers and developers and console makers who get squeezed into this corner of not being able to take risks as often and having to bet on sequels because it's a sure thing and yada yada yada, all the economic reasons that people do it. But you can still criticize that. I think to Hogue's point, you can still be like, well, remakes and remasters and then also a sequel number 6 is certainly not gonna lead the industry.
Let me throw you a curveball then.
Yeah.
The new Fable. New game, old IP.
Interesting. It's not a remake.
It's not a remake. It's a new game. Yeah. New game, new studio too. Making the game. So, I hope that we see gameplay this year. We saw the trailer last year. They tried to say, they tried to say like a few bits of it were gameplay, but they're walking a line there. I mean, I'd like to see actual couple minutes of, what that game is. Yeah. So we'll see. I hope to see that. And then to your guys' point about new IP and kind of, developers being able to do their thing. That's why I'm excited about Clockwork Revolution. I think In Exile has that talent from a Western RPG studio to really make something special. They've just always had to kind of work within the confines of their smaller budget. And I think that, Wasteland 3 is probably a good example of that. But I think Clockwork being the first game that they truly get to build up with being under the Xbox umbrella, I'm really excited to see what they do there.
My problem with that is that I've never liked anything that they've made. And making
Wasteland
their new
3?
No, I don't like any of the games.
Oh my god, Wasteland's great though. That seems
you could
like
try to convince me by just saying it's great, but I did not enjoy that. It was too weird. I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like that game. I haven't liked anything that they've made, and them choosing to branch out into their own game with something that looks so much like a BioShock game is also not convincing me very much. And maybe I'm just an angry, grumpy man shouting at a cloud on this stuff, but I'm not terribly excited by the Clockwork. What is it called? Clockwork
Revolution.
Clockwork Revolution. And I don't think it looked like it was very close to being out anyway. So I want to see more of Fable. I want to see more of the Clockwork game. I want to see more of the guy singing at the end of the dock. South of Midnight.
Excuse me.
Okay. Yeah. I want to see more of all those, but I'm not yet excited about them. And instead, if we're waiting on a Gears game and a Gears collection, I'm not going to be terribly excited about the Xbox output anyway.
Well, those haven't been announced, and the other games you mentioned have. So I think we're probably closer to getting some substantive news from those.
That would be great.
But yeah, I know you're tripping on Wasteland, dude. Those games are cool.
I don't like Wasteland.
What's because you like a Weird West and stuff. It's like the same type of thing.
Weird West is a better game than Wasteland.
Man.
Oh no.
This guy
that's your worst pick ever.
Smoking the ganja, I think. Here.
Weird West is a good game.
Weird West is good, but I think Wasteland.
Oh, come on. Weird West was good.
Pretty awesome.
Let's not forget last year, too, we got some interesting announcement at Xbox. Like, we got the first look at Star Wars Outlaws at Xbox's showcase, not Ubisoft. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth was at Xbox last year. Metaphor was at Xbox last year. So we could see some of that type of stuff as well. So we'll see.
Are they going to acquire a Japanese studio? Is that going to happen? They've been beating around the bush.
Well,
taking studios out on dates. What's going on?
They have Tango. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, but they got that by accident, bro. That was like that wasn't a.
And then Shinji Mikami left. So.
Yeah, I know. I bet you that wasn't even on their list of things that they were really thinking about when they were talking about Bethesda. That was like a boon. But I don't know. They've been kind of whining and dining.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's worked in Atlas's sense, so we'll see.
I don't think you need to buy a Japanese company in order to get Japanese stuff on your system. You just need to have a big enough Brinks truck. And so I don't think Microsoft is going to be inclined to buy them. I don't think they're going to be inclined to sell to them.
I think you're right about the latter. I think Xbox is incredibly inclined to buy them, though, because as we've learned, Japanese studios have very little reason to put their games on Xbox because the audience there is non-existent. And the only way you change that is you acquire some of these studios or build some of these studios that are in that country so that you can have those games on your platform and then people come to them or become Game Pass subscribers or whatever your strategy is. But I know that what they're doing now isn't working, and they really seem to want to compete in that market. Because it's an important market, even though it's not important economically that much. It's an important market kind of as an accolade, kind of, right? So
it feels like we've had this conversation forever.
A major player.
Yeah, I feel like we have. This sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a long conversation about Xbox in Japan. Yeah.
I don't think they are going to buy any Japanese studios. No.
I don't think they're going to be able to, but I think they're trying.
Let me go ahead and throw this on the bottom. Hopefully, does this interrupt? No, it doesn't interrupt too much. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that up. Those are the winners of our Fallout collectible token giveaway, rather than me kind of pausing, especially for audio listeners and going through all these names and everything. If you're hanging out with us and you see your name on there, just hit me up. If not, I'll be reaching out to everyone. But congrats to anyone of the winners, and thank you for sharing that out.
I like Commander Peep, the most fearsome commander to ever walk the battlefield. Commander Peep.
Commander Peep. Good.
Yeah.
And then, just to wrap up on Xbox, we'll see obviously what the whole Call of Duty Direct is and what that's going to look like in terms of Call of Duty now being an Xbox thing, right? What they have kind of in store there. So we'll see. Then on this is minor, but on Sunday night, Giant Bomb's doing what they used to do, their E3 night. So Sunday night they're doing Giant Bomb's having an event. They're gonna have people in the crowd and a live stream and all that stuff as well. And then Monday, which is kind of weird if you think about it, on Monday, but Ubisoft Forward is going. So they haven't announced.
French.
But they haven't announced any details yet. I actually checked this morning to see if there's anything new on it, but no, they haven't even announced the specific time of the live stream yet or the studio, but it is going to be live from LA. They are having a audience there as well, so it should be a decent size event. But I guess we'll see what Ubisoft's been cooking. I mean, I would assume we'll see more of.
I want to see a dancing bear. The Just Dance dancing bear. I miss. We need more Ubisoft dance numbers.
I liked E3 for that reason because Ubisoft had their own stage and section, and they would do a live dancing stage show every year.
They would.
It was hilarious.
It was in it. You had to take a cab there. I remember it wasn't in the main building, but it was nice.
It was always ridiculous, and if I was behind enough, I would fast forward through big parts of it. But I love the Just Dance numbers. So, come on, Ubisoft, get it together.
It's a better dance number than it is a game, I must say, because it pales in comparison to the great Dance Central. How could we forget?
Are they still making Just Dance on like the Wii? Didn't they make that up until a certain year?
Yeah, they've there's been a recent one.
You can get Just Dance on everything.
Yeah, if you get it on Xbox, you play with your phones as the controller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just best to get it on Switch if you're going to play it. Those controllers are perfect for Just Dance. Unfortunately, you can get away with just moving your arms like certain people I play the game with that shall remain nameless and refuse to actually dance and just move their hands and get points. And it's bullshit.
Why are you calling D out like that? That's messed up.
I mean, I said nameless, bro, but it's not cool, which is why Dance Central's full body tracking was the superior method of tracking who had the better dance skills. Thank you very much.
If game developers
you will learn in
realize
person on our wedding,
it's that people will take the path of least resistance to score points.
And that is why you need to track their full bodies. Is this how we slip into fascism? Did I accidentally just discover?
I actually like that. It's funny you say that because actually what I liked about that Xbox Fitness when Xbox One came out with the Kinect, right, 2.0, is that like if you did a push-up, right, it measured like how low you went, you know what I mean? And like your form and everything. Yeah, and you would get less points. So you get like half points if you only went and did like half a push-up. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean now the best way to do it is VR. If you're going to play a workout game, it's there's also the Switch fitness game, but honestly, VR has kind of replaced what the Kinect used to be, which was like my fitness video game regimen. But
VR. Speaking of VR, we got an Alien VR game coming soon.
That's right.
Yeah, we do.
I think I'm sitting in on that demo.
Nice. You got to let me know because I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, if you're allowed to report on it, let me know too. VR Xenomorph is the dream.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So anyway, Ubisoft, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll probably see one of these Assassin's Creed projects that they've been working on. They have 4, right? I think in flight. So, we'll see.
Oh. Also, there was a VR announcement this week. I think we covered it, but it's kind of a big news. It's the sorry, because we're talking about VR, this popped in my head. The next game in the Arkham Knight series is going to be a VR game.
Arkham Shadow is a VR game. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, that's crazy.
Technically speaking, Suicide Squad was the next game in the Arkham series until now.
Yeah, but this is the next one also. After that. They described it as the next game in the critically acclaimed Batman Arkham franchise. Arkham Shadow.
Batman Arkham franchise. See, that's different.
Yeah.
Totally what was the Arkham VR game that they did as kind of the test when VR first came out? I really liked that one.
Yeah, that was more of a tech demo, but I think
the Batman one where you could be in for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, but we're also like the Joker hits you with gas and it gets all weird in VR.
Yeah.
It was a good. It was
a good tech demo. Not a great game, but I think this has a potential. It's a MetaQuest 3 exclusive, which I think is great news.
Nailing it, Sony. Nailing it.
Yeah, Sony's screwing up. Especially since they actually had the original demo. I believe that was a PSVR 1 exclusive, the original Batman game. So
how in the world did they not do they not pay for the Arkham sequel? Come on,
I don't know,
Sony.
man. Meta is really the only one competing right now. It's kind of hilarious, but yeah, they have a pretty decent studio on it, Camouflage, and I'm interested to see this one. I think I'm going to check this out.
Yeah, the first one was just called Batman Arkham VR, by the way. That was literally the title of it. So
Wait, Camouflage is making the sequel?
Yep.
I like them.
Camouflage is great. Yeah, I honestly think this could be huge. This was news they like pinged me with because I guess I'm the VR guy at IGN now that I've reviewed a couple VR games. But yeah, I want to play this one. I'm actually excited.
Alchemy Labs is my favorite VR company, and then Camouflage is one of mine. So that's cool.
I'm gonna go Sanzaru. Hard to beat. Go to.
You know, they only release one game every 6 years, but yeah,
it's true. But they're both bangers. Two of the highest rated VR games ever.
That's how you want to do it if you're going to release games on that cadence. The Rockstar approach.
By the way, you now that you're talking about VR, so Pistol Whip has its metal.
Yes, you know I'll be in there. Hell yeah,
awesome.
dude. Yeah, it looks
really so excited about that.
I love that you're playing that. By the way, the game I recommended to you, the workout game Supernatural, I found out why you had never heard of it. It's because I didn't realize it was a Meta exclusive, and you've been playing on it, guys. So yeah,
I do have the Meta 2. I just don't have the 3.
I mean, the Meta, it works on the Meta 2 just fine, but by my money, that's the best workout game out there. It definitely puts Beat Saber to shame because you do knee strikes and stuff. So it's like full core workout, and it's pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty good, man. Sorry for interrupting you, but when VR comes up, I have to get the news out when I can.
No, you're good. You're good. So that is the summer showcase schedule. Anyway, we will be, we'll be covering. Obviously, there'll be a ton of coverage of it, but should be a fun weekend. At least all the events are in that weekend, those 4 days, rather than being over like a month, which I think we had a couple years during the COVID era. So at least we'll be able to kind of have some coverage of that and be able to talk about it holistically the following week, which would be good. So, all right. I wanted to touch on real quick the darn layoffs we got this week. So Take-Two, Take-Two was announcing 5% of their staff being let go a few weeks ago, and it has begun. So they didn't provide any further comment on this, not to gamesindustry.biz or anyone else, but basically Private Division has been gutted. So apparently there's only a skeleton crew left. Their offices in 4 different cities have been basically mostly shut down, which is kind of crazy because they literally just published No Rest for the Wicked. That's Private Division published. And they have the Tales from the Shire. Tales of the Shire.
That should be his Bloomberg column.
That should be his book. They have that coming later this year, but Private Division has published quite a lot of games that you've probably played and maybe not even realized it. They're a pretty big indie or smaller game publisher. So sad to see them get hit hard. And then alongside the publisher, Roll7 and Intercept Games are both being shut down fully. So Roll7 is famous for Ali Ali and also did Rollerdrome, which came out last year.
Rollerdrome is great.
Yeah. And then Intercept Games is the company who does Kerbal Space Program.
Did.
So all of that's being shut down and closed by Take-Two, which is just more of what we've talked about here.
Yeah. So some of this is interesting. Private Division has been coming for a while because they've been dropping clients like crazy. I don't know if you guys have been following that bit of news, but like
no,
they had games they were supposed to publish that they were like, hey, we know we funded this game and we were going to publish it, but we're suddenly not going to. And one of them was Eternal Strands. That was a game that was supposed to be published.
Okay.
And then they went, oh, actually, I know you guys are at the final stretch of making that game, but we're not going to publish it. And so enjoy, right? And so we saw a little bit of that happening in the background. And I immediately was like, okay, so I thought Private Division was maybe getting shut down, and maybe it will be after they're done publishing the last few games that they have committed to.
If they really went to a skeleton crew, it just means that they probably have some contractual obligations still outstanding, but they're otherwise shutting down.
That would be my guess, just based on the narratives I've heard from developers that were working with them and now aren't, right? And so would be really interesting to see how that works for Take-Two, because I view Private Division as having kind of a unique role within their large corporation that mostly focuses on large games. And I'm wondering if they're just moving away from that model in general. It doesn't mean that, these developers are doomed. You know, they could start new
No,
studios. I'm really hopeful
I
for
see in
them.
the chat, like I was really looking forward to Tales of the Shire. Nothing specifically should happen to Tales of the Shire. Private Division didn't make games. They made them available to you. They were a publisher, not a developer.
Right. And they're still going to do that for these games, presumably because they already committed to doing so. But I would guess they go away after that. And some of these studios that were in-house at Take-Two that are shutting down, it really sucks. And hopefully those devs will start new projects together. I mean, that's always my hope. More indie studios is better.
Yeah, and you called them indie, and they are to some extent in that they're not in the big platforms, but they were always in the middle area. They weren't Devolver. They published like Outer
Double A.
Worlds, didn't they? Like it was like
They
it was
did
that
publish Outer
double A
Yep.
type game.
Yep.
By the way, I love the phrase triple I because I immediately know what they're talking about, right? Like Baldur's Gate 3, triple I.
I think Baldur's Gate 3 might be a quadruple I, right?
Oh,
Ubisoft?
maybe.
Whoa. How is Skull and Bones going?
Skull and Bones is still delightful, but I may be
Are you
the
still
only one
playing it?
there. Yes.
You still playing it? Oh wow, that's
I
great.
love Skull and Bones.
I'll hop back on for season 2. That's my plan right now because I have so much damn money. I mean, eventually I got to use them.
This is not my problem. I do not have so much damn money.
Really?
But yeah, anyway, so that's the extent it seems. Apparently, like game industry and some of those sites asked Take-Two for comments, and they said we already announced these layoffs, so we're not saying anything more. So
You could tell
that is
you could
the right
tell-
messaging, by the way.
You can tell Rockstar, not getting out a Grand Theft Auto for so long is part of that. That's what runs. That's the engine of Take-Two.
You think so? Because GTA 5 is still making money hand over fist. Do they even need to release a GTA?
GTA 5 is still making money, but when you were making those acquisitions, you had a budget in mind of GTA 6 coming out and making more money. And that game is not hitting 2024. So
more money.
I don't know if they
Always
ever
more
planned
money.
it to, though. Did they?
we don't have any idea what they were doing behind the scenes because they'd all be unnamed whatevers, but I'm certain that this is a function of not getting the money that they had planned in their budget.
It could also just be a function of those parts of the business not being profitable on their own. I mean, you have to be self-sufficient when you're part of one of these corporations. You can't subsidize every part with a successful part of your business. So I could see it kind of being unrelated, because if I'm Take-Two, I'm not planning on any specific date for GTA period, because that's Rockstar's kind of entire thing, right? And they're making enough money from GTA 5 to where they don't really need to rush it. GTA Online is huge.
Well, we're all speculating. We don't know what's happening in the boardrooms or behind the scenes on this kind of stuff. But I do think that when you see a reduction of 5%, which sounds smallish, but Take-Two is enormous. Like, this is a lot of lives.
It's a lot of
so when you see that kind of what I would consider drastic action in a company that size, it generally means something changed behind the scenes.
I'm wondering if maybe it was more just because my thing, Hogue, is that it wasn't like they did a 5% cut across the board. It was very targeted. So I'm wondering if it was just a problem with a certain part of their business, and also a way for them to meet the needs of the corporate overlords who just want more economic efficiency and all that stuff. But it just seems more targeted to me than like a general, like, oh, we need to lean up, or like, hey, we're not making enough money because GTA isn't coming out. It doesn't seem like that kind of layoff to me.
It's possible. One of the reasons you're seeing the layoffs cascade now is that if you can get into an avalanche of bad news, you can have your bad news kind of go by the wayside, whether that's if you're publicly traded with your own investors or if you're not with the media. So you do see these things kind of come in waves because you're not going to be isolated and spotlighted.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I mean, between GTA Online and NBA 2K makes ridiculous amounts of money. I don't think people realize how big that game actually is.
But Travis is right? Like, part of the conversation that annoys is maybe too strong, but I always get a little bit concerned about when I see it online is, this company X is making X amount of dollars, and so why are they cutting this subsidiary, or why are they making these layoffs? And as I like to say online, these companies aren't jobs programs. It isn't their role to make sure these things survive if they aren't otherwise making their investors money. So you don't have to like that. You don't have to be a fan of that structurally, but that is the way these things are built. And so you can get into situations where you're Take-Two, you look at having a double A publisher like Private Division is not making a lot of sense for whatever your strategic vision for the future is, then you might see targeted cuts aimed at that. Now, I don't know exactly why you hit the Kerbal people or the Roller Drome people, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. And maybe they had some products that weren't lining up the way that Take-Two expected. So, I mean, you just don't know with these things.
I mean, I can't
Same
imagine
way-
Roller Drome did super well, unfortunately, and I really like that game. But I
Right,
just
but I don't think Roller Drome is as big of an issue. I can't imagine that you would have estimated high revenues for that game, period. I don't think that's
Yeah.
as big of an issue as whatever you're working on now, right? Like
Sure.
it would have been a year of pre-production and working towards something. And if you don't like the way that that's coming together, or if you have other issues, including the fact that you aren't looking at a big bump for a new Grand Theft Auto or whatever else Rockstar might put out,
and
then-
if it is just leaning up the corporation and making you more, revenue positive, you might just take the lowest performers in the org. Just
There's
hit
that
those
too.
ones and
I
do
mean, we
that and
we
do
saw
okay.
this to Hoag's point. We saw this out of PlayStation too, right? They closed London studio, they closed Sony Japan. Those kind of independent, smaller studios within their umbrella that really probably didn't play
Sony-
into the future that they
So
had.
if I could speak to you right now, because I am sure your executive management is all watching the Bitcast right now.
Of course.
If you could give me a state of play with a new Astrobot, I will love you forever. That would make my day. That would get
That
me
is
around.
a lie. He will not love you forever. He will love you for like a couple months, and then
I
you'll
will
do
love you
something-
until your
then-
next horrific business
Then
mistake.
you'll remaster God of War 2 Ragnarok, and he'll be like, "Oh, I hate you again." That is the Travis guarantee.
Ragnarok
Here.
remastered. You're killing me. Yes.
Ragmastered.
I do miss the ridiculous remastered. My favorite of those was remastered for Red Faction.
Uh-huh.
Gorilla.
Remastered
Red
was very good.
Faction.
I think I prefer Definitive Edition a little bit
That
more.
one was always hard for me to say.
very good. What were some of the other ones?
We should
Now
take
that
bets on
sounds-
what PlayStation's going to remaster next.
I think we can agree the worst one is War Mastered. That was crazy that they tried that. They did War Mastered Edition, and I was like, "Yo, no."
Well, have they tried to
no.
remaster anything in the current generation? Because when they announced the Pro, are they going to say, "All right, here's Ratchet and Clank Pro, here's Returnal Pro"? Just really make me feel bad about ever buying a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Do it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna come. I think they're gonna come out with an edition called "FU Hogue" edition of the PlayStation, and it's literally it will only play Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok,
Story mode.
and remasters of old games. That's all it will play.
And it just does the narrative sections. You don't
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
a story.
and it comes.
It's
with-
actually 20
it comes-
hours at Coney Island.
and it
That's what
comes
you're
with a PSVR 2 with no drive in it, so you just can't play it. It's just basically use it as a paperweight.
I want to love. I want to enjoy
I don't think you do.
Sony PlayStation products.
So, speaking of which, you guys play on PlayStation a lot. Do you have the same issue I do where the hard drive has to rebuild itself randomly
Yes.
just all the time? What
Every
is
time I
that?
turn on my PlayStation, it decides
all the time.
Every time I turn on my PlayStation, it gives me a notice that's like, "Hey, we're just gonna take like 45 minutes to just do a whole bunch of stuff."
Yeah. Like,
Whole
what
bunch
is
of
going
stuff.
on?
You know what I hate about its system is that if I have a power out or anything where where it goes out and then it comes back on, I really hate the message that's like, you should really shut down your PlayStation or what have you. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, I didn't do that.
I miss the days of Tom Nook getting in my face about it. Or no, sorry, not Tom Nook. Sorry, the mole. His name is Rossetti, Mr. Rossetti. I can't. Rossetti. Yeah, I miss the days of that mole jumping out of his hole to scream at me in Animal Crossing, and I think that should be the policy of every console. Anytime I do anything slightly against the rules or that you don't like I want a game that if you scum save, like you save and then you kill somebody and steal and then you reload. I want Rossetti or whoever, whatever mascot you got, to pop out and be like, "Yo, I know what you did."
Games used to do that.
You know?
I remember
watching.
very specifically a Sierra adventure game called Manhunter or Manhunt San Francisco.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I've been there. I've been there, pal.
Who
had
was
like
playing
a-
in VR?
which had like a police computer where you were looking for the criminals that you were trying to take down. And if you were using a
Mhm.
strategy guide or some type of tip sheet, you could put in a name before you had known it from the game, and it would respond with, you shouldn't know who that is at all, and then like
Yeah.
terminate your game. And it's like, okay,
Undertale does it too. Undertale knows what other playthroughs you've done and comments on it. It's pretty that sort of stuff I really do love.
It's funny. You Manhunter is 1988, Hogan.
I am
When I pull,
seasoned.
well, I know when I pulled it up, you know what came
I
up next
wasn't
to it,
born
which was
yet.
one of my favorite games as a kid, was Black Cauldron, which is another Sierra or adventure game. So same year as King's Quest 4.
Guys,
Manhunter.
I go on Manhunter.
But to be
quests in
clear, it
San
was
Francisco,
Manhunter San Francisco. I think that's the second one.
bro.
Oh, Manhunter New York is 88. Manhunter San Francisco is 89. So
See?
Makes sense.
So many years later.
I've been in a lot of San Francisco manhunts, Black Cauldron in hand.
Hey, Manhunter San Francisco is the only reason I knew what the Trimerica building was.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic in our skyline.
Indeed.
Yeah. Although no longer the largest building. Now it's Salesforce Tower, which is obnoxious. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is huge. You can
This
see
is
it
like
from
when they
here.
sold the Sears Tower. And I go, there's the
Yeah.
Sears Tower. It's like, that's not the Sears Tower.
Yeah.
I hate when they do
Salesforce.
that, when they change the name. Like now, the Giant Stadium is Oracle Arena, I think, instead of AT&T Park. And
Dude, the
not that
Lakers
AT&T Park was a good name. It was called AT&T, like the worst company ever. But you know,
the Kings and Lakers playing Crypto.com Arena. Like, come on.
That's awesome.
Dude. It's so
I prefer
terrible.
to watch all my shows at YouTube Theater. Really is what I'm here for. Watching those sketches that they do of various.
Yeah, man. I miss Soldier Field, Veterans, Veterans Stadium, Candlestick Park. Like, come on, man. That's
Hope
just
just going postal on a game in live on stage. There's like a single spotlight on him, and he's just like, "Why do they keep making remasters? Why do they keep doing it?" You know, I just want to see that.
Is that what you see in my corner of the screen?
Yeah. Every time I look over, just and your hair's flopping, you know.
Oh man. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up before we go further adrift here. So on the SG side of the house, we've got a review for Manor Lords is up, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I've got top spin coverage this week as well. The one big article coming should be tomorrow is Mo, who has been on this show, good friend of mine who I talk to all the time. He lost his sister earlier this year, or was it late last year? Can't remember. But anyway, he lost his sister recently. He was going through a very tough time, and he went in and played Dark Souls 3 of all games, and he'd never been able to. He's not a Souls guy at all, but he got really addicted to it, and he wrote a really long, kind of really meaningful and touching article around kind of the remembrance of his sister and some of the struggles he was going through and how Dark Souls 3 helped him with that. So it's going to be a really genuine kind of article that I'm happy to share out on SG. So that should be going live tomorrow, if not very early this week. But I hope you give it a chance and check that out. And then I said last week Cast Co-op was going to be back. We couldn't this week, so we will be back, me, Joe, and Luke this week. So Travis, let me pass it over to you.
I got a Fallout 76 review. It's probably going to go live on Wednesday. I guess the written version could end up going live sooner since there's no embargo. We're reviewing a 6-year-old game. But I'm going to be doing that, and then Disney Dreamlight Valley pretty soon. And then I've got some cool previews I can't talk about. And I think at least one of those is going live this week. And I've also got some D&D news for those who play tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons. I've got some cool stuff coming up for that. So ding, IGN.com, and love you all. my adoring fans.
Hogue, what you got?
Well, I have the 3-hour stream we talked about at the top of this video, celebrating the Stroke Hero Awards win, which was for Voters' Choice. So that's really all thanks to the people watching stuff like this on the Bitcast and on my channel, and Dan and Ains and Travis for voting for me. Thank you. And thank you, Dan, for voting for me, even though I was up against a Puerto Rican clinic. So I appreciate it.
What's up, man?
This week, I hope to do some more standard videos. I've got a virtual legality I'd probably like to do about the FTC and the non-compete ban, as well as potentially talk about the Helldivers 2 situation a little bit more now that we see some of the countries that they were selling Helldivers to coming off of the Steam database. But I think in connection with that, I'll also do a Hangouts and Headlines, probably about something a little bit less impactful to people's lives than video games, which sounds funny to say, but video games are where all of the really strong comments come on my channel. So I hope to get those videos up later this week. If you like any of that, come by, check it out. We've got lots of fun stuff over on the Hoglaw YouTube channel. And thank you so much for helping me win this award.
There you go. Congrats again on that, my friend. We'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Here you go.
Congratulate you on the congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Chat, you've been awesome as always. Thank you for hanging out with us. Appreciate all of you. I hope that you have a good week in gaming, and we will see you next Sunday. Till then.